Are we ready to get started? I think so. Alright. Let's do this. Get our stage situated. We are on the wrong screen right now. Bad, y'all, just setting up the stage real quick like. Okay, all right, let's get started. We got a lot to do today. We are coming around the mountain, okay? We are coming to listen, okay? This how serious we are. This how serious we are. My top two buttons are unbuttoned, okay? My sleeves, these are pushed back, okay? These sleeves are rolled up today. We're not messing around. We got a sprint to close, okay? And we are behind schedule. I ain't gonna say we behind, but we are we slightly behind, okay? We could be a little farther ahead. So without further ado, let's go ahead, knock this intro out, and then we're gonna dive right in today, y'all. We have to get started today. Okay, so let's look at the note list. All right, welcome to the Junkyard. Yes, I am Combo Junkie, and I am addicted to doing some of the most juiciest, most damaging combos in all of your favorite fighting games. But as you guys know, we are putting this down for a time, okay? We are putting this down for a time, and guess what? We picking this up. We picking this up, okay? We doing all programming, all computer programming all day. We doing the combos of some of the best computer technologies that exist today. So what are we doing, though? Like, what are we here doing? Now, if for those of you who are new, welcome to the Junkyard, first off. If you are new, welcome to the Junkyard. Good to have you here. But if you're new, you're probably wondering what we are programming. What are we developing, right? So obviously today specifically, we have a goal to make this infinitely scrolling wall. A little overkill, but mainly what we're doing, if we head over to the browser, let's just do a quick recap, okay, of what we're getting ourselves into. What are we trying to achieve? So the biggest thing is we want to learn some of these new modern technologies, right? It's a lot of really dope tools that exist today, and we want to learn them. Okay, so what better way to learn these tools Then, wait, hang on, sorry, just let me expand that chat window so I don't get yelled at. Okay, cool. What better way to learn these tools than to learn by doing, right? So that's what we're gonna do here. Let me make sure that the browser window here is actually showing. Go to the browser. There we go. That is the wrong browser. But good thing we are in streaming mode. I mean studio mode. We in studio mode. Y'all can't see what I just did, but if we come over to this one, no, it's not that one. Is it that one? There we go. All right, found it. All right, so let's transition that in. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we are up to. What are we trying to do? And I hear a bit of an echo somewhere. No, I don't. Okay, it's all in my head. All right, so what are we up to? So we were going to use some of the most modern technologies to build ourselves a video gaming news website. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Let's head over to IGN.com, our bestest friend for the last month, and let's see what a news gaming website looks like. So these news websites all look the same to me, or at least feel the same, right? I'm gonna turn down the beats, the chill beats a little bit. It is a bit loud. All right, I think that's some good background music, but definitely shouldn't be competing with me. All right, so we're building ourselves a video game news website, right? So we're gonna be pretty watered down, but these sites have this concept of well, let's just be clear. These sites have three main content types that drive the platform, right? That drive the website. The first content type is this idea of a story, right? That's really the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. That's the backbone of it. And that's what I just clicked into. So you can imagine its homepage. This is a huge assortment of the various stories that have been created on the IGN site, right? So if you click into one of these, they all go to the same type of page. They look the same for the most part. Where they have a title, you know, a summary, big beautiful image, and then a story. But the story is made up of different things, right? So story is just one content type, but there's actually three content types in play when you're dealing with stories, right? If you create a story, you can actually tag that story with a certain category or a tag to basically tell that story where to appear on your website. Right, so there's another content type that's called a tag, right? It's really just like a content driver, right? It tells your content that, hey, this story right here should show up in this section of the website. So you see here, this is an avowed section, and there's going to be nothing but avowed content on this page. So you need this concept of tagging so that you can, when you're creating a story, you can basically drive your content to certain sections of the page. And then going back, let's go to another story. So there's tags, and then there's also another final content type, the third content type, which is the people, the person content type, right? Because if you create a story, you can imagine you need to be able to say that the story was written by a certain person. Right, so that's where the person comes in. And then if you click this person content type, you can see here, Rebecca Valentine of the Bay Area has a whole section front. This is all going to be content that Rebecca either contributed to or was the sole author for. So really cool concept there. So we got these three different content types that together make up the IGN website, right? And there's probably some other things too that I'm leaving out. But for our watered down website experience that we're going to deliver, this is enough for us, right? All we need is a story that can be tagged to multiple sections and that can be authored by multiple people. We don't need anything beyond that. That is plenty for us. And that is what we have been building towards, right? So if we circle back to this part of the site, this is my Canva whiteboard. This is kind of where it all started, right? We have this concept of the three document types. That's what Sanity calls content types. We have these three document types, one for tag, one for person, and one for story. And then we have our assortment of elements, right? The things that, the smaller little bits and pieces that go into these larger documents. If you're familiar with atomic design, this is kind of the atoms, molecules, and organisms concept, right? Where you have these small pieces like an image that goes into, that's an atom, right? Image would be an atom, and that atom can go into a molecule like a media molecule, right? And then that media molecule can go into an organism like a story. Okay, so that's kind of where we are. Now let's talk about where we've come so far, right? Because remember, last week, Friday, we made some really good progress. I know the stream was a little all over the place, but we made some really good progress in finishing off the dynamic side of our website, right? So if we head back over to Jira, we can kind of see here, get a kind of bird's eye view as to where we stand with our board, right? If you look in this done column, we've completed quite a bit, but we were still stuck on this one ticket here, this enhancing the story homepage. Enhancing the homepage to leverage actual data from Sanity, right? We had to connect the dots so everything would be dynamic, and that's kind of where we left off. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to finish out that homepage, because one more thing we did Friday, just before we signed off, if we scroll up, we can see now we have a second wireframe under our belts. As a matter of fact, did I already get rid of that? No, I already got rid of that. So yeah, so that's this ticket here. So we completed that wireframe, right? This kind of visual representation, a very watered down visual representation of what our section pages are going to look like, right? So we have our homepage, which looks like this, has a carousel, some beautiful imagery, and some story wall and things like that. But then when you get to a section front, right, like if you were to click this topic label right here, what happens, right? Where do you go? And the idea is that when you click this, you go to a page of just this topic label content, and it would look something like this, right? Where you would have that topic labels image, okay? You would have that topic labels image, and you would have the the other details, right? So the title for that topic, and then a description for that topic. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to build that out. But first, we actually need to finish this homepage ticket, because believe it or not, even though we got really close to finishing it last week, we actually do still have one minor thing left to knock out. So we're going to create ourselves a brand new branch from this ticket here, and we are going to once and for all complete our homepage. So before we create that branch, let's head over to our IDE. We're going to start up our application. And I just want to set the tone as to like where are we with the app right now? Where are we with our next application? And what is it about the homepage that we still need to take care of, right? So I'm gonna come here to the IDE. I'll blow that up a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that. You cannot. So let's actually come here. I think it's code. There we go. All right, so you guys should be able to see that. Let's make that a lot bigger. So how about 3? I think 3 is good. I think this is good. I don't know if this is too small. I'm just gonna do this for just in case. So we're gonna come here and let's just do a SA. Remember, we created a bunch of aliases so that we can start and stop things really quickly. SA is start application, so we're going to do that. We'll go ahead and open it in the browser. I'll click back over to our browser window, and you'll see here when we load this, it's almost there, right? So if I zoom out just a little bit, let's zoom out like one level here. So this is, we're at 125%, but that is actually looking really nice, right? For a website that we just kind of stitched together using no HTML and CSS of our own. We're using all Sanity.io as the content management system. NextJS and React components, they're what's driving the look and feel. We use Shed CN for some of the elements that you see, like the carousel and the drawer and the icons and things like that. Those are coming from Shed CN. Our main goal was that our global.css file needed to be completely empty. We should not have to supply any of that, and so far we've been successful doing that. So now what we have to do, you'll notice that this carousel has this beautiful image in the background, and we have this black background here, this black backdrop, but when we move forward, you can see that that's just static text. So this is missing a few things, right? This is missing an eyebrow, because you should still be able to navigate to the section front from here. This is missing this needs to be linked, right? So each of these titles should be clickable. I should be able to go directly to the story from here. And then maybe we'll do some byline here. I don't know if we'll do a byline here. Byline is just the attribution for the story, like saying it was by this person or by this person. I don't know if you need that in a carousel. I think the carousel being featured can probably do without attribution. So we'll just add a slug field to the top. We'll make sure that that's going to be in this nice red color. We might do some playfulness with the color schemes of each of these tags at some point, not anytime soon. For now, we'll just make sure we have a representation of that topic or of that tag inside of this inside of this DOM here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to head over to Bitbucket. I mean, sorry, Bitbucket. We're going to head over to Jira, and we are going to create ourselves a new branch. Hopefully, this is the last homepage branch we need to create, okay? So this is going to be our featured branch. We're actually going to branch from main because remember, we don't have a develop branch yet. When we start getting more than one contributor to this code base, and when we get much farther along, maybe I'll institute a develop branch, which is best practice, by the way. You shouldn't be wild westing this like I am, but essentially we're just going to have one branch at all times that we're working on, and that is what we will merge back into the main branch. But let's go ahead and clone this, right? So it's going to be whatever the current state of the main branch is, that's what this branch is going to be now. So if we head back over to our IDE, we can actually pull that down, right? So I'll go ahead and stop our server. We'll clear this out. We'll do a git fetch here, which is going to say go out to GitHub and give me all of your latest branches. Like you may have created 20 branches since the last fetch. Go get all of them for me. Now that I have this in my local Git repo, oh, that's not right. What that was. Let's go copy that. We probably need to copy the branch name first, don't we? So let's view this branch in GitHub. We'll go back to the browser and view this branch in GitHub. We'll click on branches here, and we'll see now we have this additional active branch, right? This trend junkie homepage to leverage data from sanity.io branch. We'll grab that. And let's head back over to the IDE. And this time we should be able to do a git checkout and check that branch out, right? So we have this branch. We've switched over to this branch, and I've already started on some of the featured carousel code. Like I said, basically here, all we want to do is we want to wrap a URL around this H1. That's one thing that we want to do, and we want to add a span above the H1 that denotes a topic, right? So topic here, right? And this will also be linked to the topic. So we'll say topic here. And let's just get this to look correct first. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do a font, or is it text? I think it's text. I'm going to do text red, and then, well, we need to do class name, don't we? I'll do class name, text red, and then I'll do font bold as well. And then I'll just leave that at its normal state. I don't think I need that to be any bigger. I think it'll be fine as is. Let's head back over to the IDE, because in order to preview anything, we actually have to start our application. That's a must do. So we'll leave the application running while we're doing this, and if we need to do anything in a terminal, we've just separated that out. So we can still do terminal commands here while the environment's running over here. So let's go look at this in the browser. I'll head back over to browser. And we can see it here. It's not red, which maybe I did do text red, or is it? Yeah, it is text and then color. Let's find out from the Tailwind library how to actually add color to this, because I thought it was just like, you know, add a text color and then you'd be fine, but apparently not. So we'll go Tailwind. It might be something funky. Actually, we're doing it already. We're doing it for the URLs. We can just steal that class. Oh, text red, and then a number, which I think denotes weight, right? I think the number represents the weight of it. So it's going to be text red, and then I think dash 500, since we've already done that on the other one. I think 500 works fine. Whoops, not on font bold. We have to put it on text red, don't we? All right, and then that looks fine, right? That looks totally fine, and we're gonna go with that. So let's head back over to our IDE. Now, the text is the easy part, right? Adding text is actually the easy part of our task here. The kind of more complicated part is we need to make sure that this links properly, right? So when you actually click on this, it needs to link out to the topic, and then also for this story here, right? We want to make sure that this also links when you click it. So we're gonna head over to anywhere we've used link, and I guess the story wall is a good place for that. We'll head over to our story wall, and it looks like for these links we added all of our classes to the DOM itself, and I'm totally fine doing that, right? So we are going to pull over this link element, right? This is our eyebrow. Yep, this is our iBow because we're using slug, and we had already passed in a destructured set of items here. We passed in ID and featured media. I'm gonna just pass in slug now to get rid of this error, and then we also need to import the link component that we're using now, right? This is the next link component, the NextJS link component, and we need that. We need that imported, right? So I'm gonna come here. I'll copy that. And then I'll scroll up to the top of our page here, and just under this Next.js image component, I'm going to add our link component here. And then it looks like we have some tag stuff to deal with as well. So I am going to, just like we have slugs now, I'm going to also pass in our tags. So now this is going to give us the link for the tags using the slug.current. So this is actually wrong. This should be the tags slug, which I'm not sure if I did that wrong on this too. Yeah, this is wrong, guys. This needs to be the tags slug. So we'll fix that on both places. But for now, let's just make sure the website looks okay. So I'll head back over here. If I open up my browser, we can see here that we have the word topic here because I hard-coded that. Let's move that. I hard-coded the word topic here. That's that span tag. We don't need that span tag anymore. This link attribute is going to work wonders for us, so we'll just stick with that. And that looks good, right? But however, this, if you look at that slug, that matches the title of our story. Because remember, the logic for our slug goes, it needs to be an all lowercase dash delimited version of the title, right? So if our title is Usitas Triduana Adsum, then right now you can see in the bottom left, right, as I hover over this, you see /section /usitas triendas adsum, right? So that means that we are pulling the wrong value in that link field. We actually want to pull in that tags slug instead, right? So in order for me to know what that is, I don't remember that object by heart. So I'm actually gonna console.log tags here. And we should be able to see that in the, if we head back over to the IDE, so here's where I said I'm gonna console.log tags because I don't know what's in that object. But the moment I save this, right, I should be able to see that console log pop up here in our IDE. So I'll hit save there. And okay, and voila, there we go, right? So now we have our tag, I believe. Let's see, what's on the site? Prespiciatis certe. Where are we? Where is that? I wish I can find that exact, oh, there was another one. Oh, there's a bunch of these. That's right, I forgot. We're spitting out 12 of these, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so I imagine each of these objects represent a individual tag. So starting here to here, I have to assume that all of these are one tag, and each tag has a slug here, right? So I believe I'm right about this, but let's just assume that I am, right? So we're gonna just do 0.slug.current is the way that we access, if I'm right, that's the way that we can access this. And if I'm wrong, there's another way that we're going to get to the bottom of this if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So we'll head back over here. We'll get rid of that console.log. We'll scroll down a bit to our link that we just added, and here we'll say tags 0, right? Because we want that first element from the tags array, tags0.slug.current. That's what we want our slug to be. Let's head back over to the browser and see if we got that right. Now we should be seeing yep, and as you can see in the bottom left corner, Prespiciatis certe is now what is pointed to in our section. So, and that's what we want to see, right? So now that we've done that, let's also correct the story wall topics because those URLs are also invalid, right? So let's go over to the IDE. Let's come over to our story wall here, and we will say tags at the 0th index .slug.current there as well. So now we've resolved both of those issues. So if we head back over to the browser, we should be able to see that Blenditis here is actually the URL, and we can see that there. We can see this one as well. That's kind of the same. Yep, these are now working as expected. So we're good there. Okay, all good. Now let's move on to the adding a link around the title, and then we'll be done with the carousel. Actually, no, we won't. We also need to pull in a summary, but that's child's play, right? So let's go back to the IDE, and we'll come back here to our file. We're going to do the same thing we did here with link. I think that whatever we did with the title for the story wall, we can do here as well. Most likely we'll just wrap this inside of a link element. I don't know if it's better practice to wrap the whole thing. I don't recall seeing H1s wrapped in link components. That doesn't really feel right to me. So I'm going to assume that it's going to be like this. And I will just pop that in here. And I believe I don't need any styles here. Everything is taken care of for me by the H1 tag itself, right? So we should now go back to we should be able to go back to the browser and kind of see that that we are linking now in the title. So you can see that, right? If you look in the bottom left, it's the wrong link, but you can see now there's a link attribute surrounding. If we actually, let's just do it the direct way, right? So if we go inside of this H1, there's now a link attribute surrounding that title. Obviously, this is the wrong title, though, right? This is that tag title. So let's go back to the IDE and fix that. So if we come into this area, I don't know what our story landing page is going to be, but I imagine it's story / something, right? So what did we do here? Let's find out what we did here. And it looks like I never added the URL. I never added the URL for the story wall either. Look at that. So we're knocking out a lot of birds with one stone right now. We're on the hook for that too. And remember, we already had that, right? We already had that in place accidentally just now, right? It's instead of it being tags index 0, we could just go back to what it was before, which is that, and you're done, right? So what we're gonna do is we are going to copy this link attribute, right? I mean this link component. We will get rid of, we'll say that all of our stories live at /story. Let's just say that. We'll get rid of this tags piece here. We know we don't need that. We'll also get rid of the extra formatting here because our H1 is fine as is. And then we will take the title from here. Actually, we don't even need to do that, right? Boom, there it is. And now our story wall links should be working as expected. Let's head back over to the browser and just confirm that the story wall titles are now linking. So, sorry about that. Okay, yeah, so if you click into that, we can see that it's now, if you see the bottom left, actually, I won't make you guys lose your vision trying to see the bottom left. What I'll do is I'll just anchor to this directly in the dev tools. And you can see here, right, /story /agnito. And then this should be Saluda de Popolo Subvenio, right? So you can see /story Saluda de Popolo, right, in the bottom left there, or in this href here, you can see it, right? So those look fine, and when we eventually stand up our story template, that'll make more sense on how we actually navigate around. But for now, that's great, right? So we can move on to linking this guy and then adding our summary. So let's go ahead and click into the IDE again, and it's going to be the same thing that we did here. So we can literally this time use the same code even. And right here, so it looks like we never used the real stories array here. It looks like we just used like a dummy array here, which is fine. But let's go ahead and put the right thing in place there. That there's our link. And then here we will also pass in our title as one of the destructured variables that are available to us. So we have slug.current and the title being passed in there. That looks good. I think the next thing we want is our summary. So let's go ahead and pass that in. We don't need to look at the browser for this. We know what we're doing at this point, right? We got it figured out. So let's do summary here, and then we'll go ahead and save that, head back over to the browser. Now we do need the review. We just added quite a bit, and that looks fantastic. I do feel like there's a bit of a snugness on the far right edge there. I think it could stand to be get a little bit of padding, so it's not as close to the edge there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a padding right here of 2. So You guys should see this happen in real time. I'm in the IDE. Actually, let me go back to the IDE so you guys can see what I'm changing. So here, that was the wrapping div, the container for that element that houses the thoughts on making the card the whole anchor tag. That is a really good question, Ehodrich. And you know what? I'll talk about that in a second. That's actually a really good question, and I've seen a lot of designs like that. But we're gonna add a couple pixels of padding over to the right just to get rid of some of that tightness, right? Give it some breathing room. Let's head back over to the browser. That should look a little better. It really doesn't look like much has changed. I don't love that spacing. I'm gonna go up to 4 pixels and just, it's not really 4 pixels. This is the 4th unit. So I imagine that it's, I don't know, something like 12 pixels, maybe 16 as we keep going up and up and up. Let's see. Am I just on it wrong? 6 is not a real thing. 8. Like that stopped changing for me after a while. Let me refresh that. Stop changing. I could just put the padding here instead of putting it on the whole container. Yeah, let me just put it on this text. And then we'll talk about whole cards versus just URLs, because yeah, that there is some, man, that's not changing it at all. That's really weird. I would have expected that padding right to, yeah, to do something like that, right? So maybe PR isn't the tailwind. I'm not entirely sure if PR is not the right one for that, but let's just find out real quick. So we'll do padding here. Padding right. No, padding's gonna be the. Yeah, it's totally PR. I imagine it would have to kind of follow suit with the other ones. That's odd that it's not giving me. So let's just find out what 20 is, because I did 20 and 20 didn't look bad, but maybe 16 would be good. But let's just go find 16 pixels of padding here. All right, 16 is 4. So yeah, that was what we had. Let's just try 5. Try PR5. We'll get rid of that custom style. We'll do PR5 here. All right, yeah, that looks good. Let's just put it on our text. Let's go back over to the IDE. And then now let's talk a little bit about card linking, okay? How should you think about card linking? Actually, I just checked the browser, guys. That looks weird. I'm gonna go for here. And we might be off, right? No, we're good. All right, so that looks a little better. I'm actually gonna put more padding on the left now, because now I think I like the fact that there's more breathing room here on the right. So I'm actually gonna do the same thing on the other side. Let me see if I go down to 2. Am I crazy, or is this just not really having an effect? And it could be something else. So what I'm gonna do is the whole container here. I'm gonna do a left here of 4 instead of 3. All right, and then I'll do maybe 5 instead of 4. That's blown out of proportion. Yeah, 4 is good. I'll just stick. Yeah, that's just gonna blow out too much if we go beyond that. I think that looks fine. Yeah, I think that looks fine. Okay, so let's talk about card linking in modern websites. Okay, so the question was specifically, what are your thoughts on making the card the whole anchor tag? And what they mean by that is, imagine you're on a cell phone, right? And you are scrolling through this content. It's gonna be a little bit of a nuisance for you to have to specifically click just this Virgo link, right, in order to navigate to that story. What we see traditionally, well, not traditionally, but in more modern mobile experiences, what we tend to see more often than not is the entire card itself being clickable, right? So if I wanted to get to this particular story, it doesn't matter what part of the card I click. I can click this text here. I can click this. Yeah, well, I guess there's two pieces that we don't want to just make clickable, right? We don't want to make this go to the story because this should take us to the section front, and we don't want to make this take us to the story because this should take us to James Durgan's stories, right? Our person page. But to the viewer's question, everything else between here should actually be a single click event, and we are actually going to make that change. So really good stuff there, E. Holdridge. That's a really good idea, and we are going to make that adjustment. We're actually going to make that adjustment here as well, right? There's no reason why this entire area where we have this paragraph and this title, that whole thing should take you to that story. So we're going to do that too. So let's head back over to the IDE. Let's do the story first, right? So we said that we were going to make H1 and this P tag take you to the story. So all we have to do to solve for that is take this outer link tag, right? And we will actually surround our title and paragraph here, and there shouldn't be any style implications here, but we'll make sure. Let's head over to the browser and just make sure that our styles still look the same. It looks good, right? That still looks exactly how we would expect, but now if you notice my cursor, I don't have to be hyper specific around what elements on the page that I'm focused on, right? I want this story now. I don't care what I have to click to get it. Let me get this story by just hovering over this space, or if I'm on mobile, let me just tap this part of the carousel and I should see that story, right? So if we head over to some of these other ones, you can see here, these are some nice, beautiful images, but I can hover over these chunks of content and go more easily get navigated to my story. We're gonna do the same thing for these cards. Again, I feel like maybe we need a little bit of space in between this eyebrow now that we are... Actually, I think the eyebrow needs to be a little bigger, and I think we need more space below, since we are saying now that the image, the title, and the body are all going to be one clickable element, right? So let's head back over to the IDE and make that happen. The first thing we want to do is we want our text to be a little bigger. So I think I can do 3XL or maybe 1X. I can't remember the text sizes. Actually, let's not wing that. Let's go over to Tailwind and see how to make our font sizes bigger. So we'll go font size here. And yeah, let's just try large. So let's see what we are dealing with currently. If we look at this right now in our dev tools, we can see that this is a 15-point font, or 15 pixels. Pixels and point are really different classifications of font size, but we can see that this is 16 pixels and we want it to be even bigger. But how big is bigger, right? So let's actually figure that out first before we just wing it. Let's head over to our dev tools, see if we can find... So we know this is font size 16, right? Let's see first if font size is being respected if I just add it here manually. So I'll do 12 pixel here. Okay, it is being respected. So the first style I saw was 18. And while that's big, I wonder if we can go even bigger with 20. I wonder if 20 will... It feels a little bit like 20 is starting to compete with the title. So I'm going to go back to 18, and that's where we're going to settle, right? We're going to settle at 18. And it looks like if we wanted a font of 18 pixels, we can use -LG, okay, instead of 3XL. So let's go take care of that. We will come over to the story wall. We'll look at our eyebrow here, and instead of doing nothing here, we're actually going to say the text of LG. Okay, we head over back to the browser. I don't know if you guys saw any of that. Let me go to the IDE real quick. Yeah, so here we go. So we just basically we went into the story wall component. We went into the story wall component, and here we identified our eyebrow, and we just added the text LG class, which is what we were asked to add from Tailwind, right? So let's head back over to the browser and see what that looks like, what that made our eyebrows look like. And if we scroll up here, we can see that now we have bigger eyebrows, and it's not so big though that it's competing with our titles, but we still have this thing where it's a little too close to the image div, right? This image container. So what I want to do is I want to add some space between that eyebrow and this image, just enough so that it's enough breathing room like this, right? Where if you want to click on the eyebrow, it's not like a challenge, right? You can more easily click it. So let's just give, like, I don't know, a decent amount of space. I don't know what that means necessarily, but let's just tinker with it here. We'll go over this anchor tag, and then let's say, I don't know, margin bottom 4. And that did nothing at all. That didn't move it down at all. I was expecting this image to get pushed down when I did that, but margin bottom rules aren't doing anything, and I think it's because anchor tags aren't inline elements. I think if this was wrapped in a span tag, that would work. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to test that theory. I'm going to just wrap this all in a span. And I'll see if I add the class there, would it respect that? So I'll do class equal. And if that did anything, I can't barely tell. 8. It feels like it's not moving to me. So something else is off about the way I have this. So you know what? Instead of figuring this out, I'm gonna attack it from the image. And I'm gonna... Are we already adding classes to this? I don't think so. No, it doesn't look like we are, right? So I'm gonna see if I add a margin top here for this image, would it impact the... So if I do a class equals, like, is this gonna work? If I do MT4, yeah, that works, and I'm okay with that. So I'm gonna do MT2 actually. I think that's gonna look a little better. Yeah, MT2. So that's what we're gonna go with on our image DOM. We are gonna add a class of MT2. Class name MT2. Right. So whatever unit 2 is for the like rubric. let's find out actually. Let's go to the browser and find out what they look at as 2. So let's do margin, and 2 is 8 pixels. Okay, so 5 rem, 8 pixels is 2, which is plenty, right? We don't need that much space in between there. What we want is just to be able to easily say on mobile with your fat thumbs, we can easily click, right? Click, 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 click. So that looks good. Now let's do E. Holdridge's idea to make all of this inside of here, this card, which is what these are. Let's make all of this clickable. And then that way you can get to either the topics page, the story, clicking on any of this, you get to the story, or the person. And again, it should be straightforward enough to the point where, like right now, you see I have to click specifically, I have to hover over Agnitio. Nah, we're not gonna need to do that. You should be able to have your mouse anywhere in this space and click that. Just like you can have your mouse anywhere here and click that topic, or anywhere here and click... Oh, we didn't even do that. Yeah, let's do that for the person DOM too. We need to do that too, so you can hover over any of these spaces and click easily. So let's take care of our content first. Let's go back to the IDE. And let's hover over... So what URL do we want? Let's first identify that. We want this URL, the story URL, right? So we will place that over title. Okay, and it should stretch all the way down to the paragraph tag, right? And now we can tuck this inside. So when we head back over to the browser, I should be able to hover over any of that part of the page. And there we go. We can see that that is not on everything, right? I missed the image. So it's not just the H2. We also need the image. So let me go ahead and undo that indentation, and let's put it around the image as well. So now it's going to be around the image, the H2, and the paragraph. We'll go ahead and refresh that, head back over to the browser, and now you can see exactly what we were looking for, right? As I hover over this, if you look in the bottom left, you can see the story URL. I'll go ahead and bring up the dev tool so you can more easily see that. You can see here the anchor tag of story agnitio is apparent on all of this, right? So I can actually click any of that. Now let's actually make it so that this URL here, the person URL, stretches all the way across. So I should be able to do that pretty easily by adding the link to our entire byline DOM, right? So I'm gonna, and when I say DOM, it's the DOM object model. Is that the topic at the top? Can't make the whole thing one anchor because you will have flexibility with linking to author tag single art. Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing, CJIRL. And welcome to the Junkyard, CJIRL, in the building. In the building. Let's go. Hey, every time one of the originals, one of the OG junkies come in, you know, we gotta show some love. But okay, let's address what CJ's talking about, right? Because it's a real concern, right? And it's a design flaw, but we've addressed it. He joined a little late, right? So when what he's talking about is, well, you can't just say the whole card will have your link, right? Because in some cases they may want to get to this topic or they may want to get to this person. But what you missed, CJIRL, is like we had already addressed that. So these would be different links, right? You should be able to click. If you imagine that these are rows in a table, this should be one row that's clickable, right? This whole top row should be clickable. This second row should consist of the image, this dead space here, this title, everything in between here should be row 2, and then our person at the bottom is row 3. So we want to have it possible to click anywhere in these spaces to navigate to those one of those 3 rows. So that's where we are right now. We've already handled it for the topic. We've handled it for the content in between the topic and the person. And now we're going to handle it for the person itself. So we're going to head back to the IDE and we will extract this author URL, right? We need some of it, but not all of it. So we will take out the opening here. And on this byline div, I'm just going to add the URL link there. And then I'm going to take the closing div and I'm going to put it on the end of this set, right? It's going to be on the end of this set. So now, that is saying that I have 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. Not there. It needs to go here. Okay. And now we can indent this just to denote that that's where our link starts and stops. And then if we head back over to the browser, we can see now that does not look like what we want, but at least the anchoring is where we want, okay? But it looks like now, because that link is on the outside, I probably have some style stuff that I didn't remove from the link. So let's go see if there's some class names on there. And sure enough, we do have some class names. I'm gonna get rid of this class entirely. I think we might want this for something else that we were doing. I'm gonna move these classes down to like I'll wrap this in like a span now, maybe. This is just the name. I'll just put this in a span tag and then I'll add the class here, right? And then whoops, did I just do that? All right, so let's cut that out and then let's add ourselves a span here. Okay, and then we'll do class name there. So that should be good. And then now we'll just move this up. Indent it, indent it, and now we can check the browser and see what that looks like. And there we go. Our lineup is back to normal. The spacing looks great. This looks incredible, right? It looks really good. And now if we look at that row, right, if you look at the bottom left, actually, let me anchor it. If you look at our surrounding URL, you can see that it's the author that surrounds that, right? So if I click anywhere in this space, I'll get the author. If I click anywhere in this space, I'll get my story. And anywhere in this space, I'll get my topic, right? So we have all of that covered. Looks fantastical. Now I want to do the same thing to this topic, and guess what? We are done with this ticket. After I do this, we are done. Homepage is behind us. It's been a thorn in our side for far too long. So all right, okay. Thank you. Oh, he said gotcha. Oh, he was answering Holdridge's question. Oh, okay, 48. All right. All right, so let's just go do that in the feature carousel. Really what we want to do is we want this guy here to basically just be the width. We want this guy here. This is our tag link. We want this to be the width of the container. So I think we can get away with just saying W full. I think we can just get away with saying make this 100% width, and that should cover us. Let's head back over to the browser, and no, that did not do it. And it did add W width there though, but I think this is another instance of inline versus block elements. I think I'm gonna need a span in order for this to span all the way across. All right, I'm sorry. I had to though. It was a layup. The question is, do I put the span around the anchor tag or inside it? I think to stay consistent with what we've done for the story elements, I'm just going to leave the span on the inside. So let's head back to the IDE. I don't think it matters, honestly, which one we use here. We're at the very butt end of this ticket. So if some client comes back later saying, hey, I hate outside span tags, can you please add that on the right side, then maybe we'll make an adjustment. But and that looks like it is working now. Maybe it's still not actually working, so maybe I do have to go span on the outside. Well, let's first see if we can edit this and add the width of 100%. And maybe that'll work. We'll see. No, it's not doing it. It's not stretching all the way across. And that might be because, that might be because the container is absolute. So how would you do that? I think it would be left 0, right 0. But this is an inner container, so this shouldn't even have any effect on, yeah, that is interesting. Let me go the other way around with that span setup. I don't know why this wouldn't work. I was really thinking that would work out of the box. That's interesting that wasn't working. So let's go back. I'll get rid of our W full here. I don't know if that actually made a difference, to be honest. And then here I'll just do span, and we'll pull that link element up, and then we'll put it here. And then I'm not gonna do anything to the span tag just yet. I want to see if that achieved it for us. No, it didn't. So span alone won't do it, but let's see what happens if I add the class of with full here. W full. Whoops. There we go. Okay. No, it's not doing it. Anybody know how to get this to stretch across the full container? I don't think I need to do any craziness though. I could have sworn it was just a matter of the container stretching across the full space. Because W full is with 100% here. You can see that that's actually being applied. What if we apply it here? Yeah, it's the same difference, right? Like that. It just doesn't have any effects. And I think it has something to do with the type of element it is, honestly. Maybe I need a divider. So if we do edit as HTML here, maybe we just need a divider instead of a span. Yeah, there we go. All right, and I think at that point we don't even need the 100%, but we'll see. Let me see. I'm gonna see if we don't have the 100 here. Yeah, it still works. All right, cool. So it's just the type of element we use here. So I'm gonna go back over to the IDE, and we'll change that to a div. And then now that this is just a standalone tag for cosmetics, I'm just going to put all of this on one line. There's no reason to nest them aggressively like they are. So, all right, we are the 2 indent boys, so we are not going to. Gonna make sure we're only indenting things by 2 spaces. I am not a 4 indent kind of guy. All right, and this is giving me an error here. Cannot find name H1. That is interesting. I was gonna say I don't believe it. I don't believe that error for a second. All right, now let's head over to the browser. I think we nailed it. It looks like the node to be removed is not a child of this node. I don't know what that's talking about. That was a probably a fake error. So now if we hover over this div, once again, we're not done. We didn't add the anchor tag around the div, but we know what to do, right, boys and girls? That's a really easy fix. So we can just come take this link attribute, and as a matter of fact, what I'll do, not only will I take the link out and put it here, but what I'll do is I'll take the class off of that link now, and I think I can put it on the div. I think we'll be just fine like that, honestly. All right, and then now let's just, that goes inside, so there we go. And then now let's head back over to the browser. I think this is gonna work. Yeah, that does work. That works. So it looks fine, right? All the styles are still there. And now we can hover over any part of this top line to get to our story. So now the last question is, well, should this image take you to the story, or should just this card take you to the story? I think I'm going to leave the image as is. A lot of people do click image. No, never mind. I'm going to link the image as well. I'm going to link the image too, but I'm going to link it separately. I'm going to link the image on its own because I don't want it to come off like the image is actually, like I want it to be a clear separation of concerns, right? Like when you click on the image, which is this kind of top half of the experience, when you click on that, you can go to the story, but I don't want you to think you can't click that eyebrow, and I don't want you to struggle clicking that eyebrow either. So let's take this story link, which is here. Wait, no, this isn't our story link. This is our story link. Let's take this story link, and let's see what happens if we just simply like wrap the image in that, right? So we're not going to do anything special. We're just going to wrap that image in that story link. Okay, so there's our, and you guys didn't see me do that, but here, let me just show you what I did. So I just took this, link tag here, right? And then I added it above the image here, closed it off, moved the image into it, right? Then indented it, and then saved. And then now if we head back to the browser, we can see now the image is clickable, but as I hover over the topic, right, I can see that the image is clickable, but then now this is separately clickable, and then also this is clickable. So we actually have the separation of concerns there. Really awesome. Okay, so now I think we are ready to submit this to our client, right? So we still have 2 days in the sprint. We are not out yet. So let's go ahead and push this code up to the repository, and then we'll merge it back into the main branch and move on with our next ticket. I'm going to close that out. Let's actually bring this up a little bit so we all can see what I'm doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I'm on the right branch. Okay, and then I'm going to do a get pull origin main. I just want to make sure whatever's been merged into main while I've been sitting here developing is part of my code base as well. So it says I'm already up to date. That's great. So now I am going to slowly go through these and add notes to what I've done to them. So in the index.ts, we moved from using underscore EL to L. It just looks better. For our elements, right, we just use underscore dot and then the actual element. So I'm going to say, I'll say optimized variable declarations in index. Variable declarations for element includes, and then for the featured carousel, what did we do? So we updated to include, updated featured carousel to include dynamic content. And then for the story wall, what did we do? We updated we resolved several issues, resolved bugs in story wall. Right, that's all we did. Fix some bugs and story wall, right? So we can go ahead and keep that in our back pocket. We'll go ahead and stage these changes, right? And now that these changes have been staged, we can commit them. So we'll go get commit -m, which is message. We can also do this from here, this top area here. I like to do it from where I'm sitting. This terminal window just feels like I have more control. I don't know. It's the computer nerd in me. All right, so I'm gonna do get branch here just so I can kind of see where I am. So trend junkie 14 is where this needs to go. So I'm going to copy that. I'll do a git commit dash m. Okay, didn't mean to do that. I always do that. Let's go ahead and close that. Git commit dash m, and then paste. And then I'm going to delete all of this because I only want from Trend Junkie 14. Remember, this is that mechanism that GitHub and Jira provides us that'll automatically tag my PR, my pull request, with the information for this ticket. It'll connect the two together. So when you head over to Jira, which we'll do in a second, you'll see that I actually did this commit, right? Which is really helpful if your clients have visibility into what you're doing on the Jira side of things, right? So we're gonna say Trend Junkie 14, and the main thing here is this ticket completes the homepage design. Okay, that's what the crux of this last PR is for. So we'll do a git push to push it up to the cloud. And real quick, I want to go back to the browser and just show you guys what that looks like in Jira now that we've pushed a change to this ticket, right? So if we head over to this ticket, we'll just reopen it. We can see here that there are three commits, right? One of these is ours, right? Updated less than a minute ago. That's our latest commit. If we wanted to review that and see the change that we made, we see this is the changes we made, right? Completes the homepage design is the index.ts, the story wall and the carousel, right? Right, we cleaned up that. Remember, yep, we just cleaned that up a little bit. We added some links and stuff here. That's all good. And then now, when we create a pull request, that's also going to be reflected on Jira, right? So now these experiences being intertwined. Just imagine. Right now, we're doing a fake project, obviously, but imagine if you had clients that needed this kind of visibility, and you didn't have time to just continuously shoot them emails and update them this way. You train them once on how to find this information or how to understand this information, and then you use the connection from your IDE, from the code base, to continuously provide them updates without doing anything, right? Let the system do it for you. So it's really cool. So we should see this go to 3 pull requests when I actually submit the PR. So let's actually do that next. I'll come back over to let's go code. I think I'm going to see that there is a new push, right? So this ticket had a push. I'm going to compare and create a PR for it. This is where I'm going to go grab the notes that we took in the IDE. This is why I say I always like to take notes as we go through each individual change we make, because it's going to be really helpful if in the future we need to come back to this specific point in time, right? Maybe there's an issue in our story wall that we just can't figure out, and we need to get to the last state that the story wall was in before a change was made to the story wall, right? So with these notes, we could easily deduce which PR introduced the latest change to the story wall, and that is extremely helpful. So let's go back to the browser. We'll just add some periods after this. We'll make a list out of this as well, right? Just want to look a little professional. That's fine. I think that does it. I'm gonna create the PR, and so I did that really I did that really quickly. I shouldn't have did it that fast. Normally when you make a PR, what you want to do is you want to review the changes too. So when you first actually click into that compare link, it'll show you the things that you changed. It'll kind of give you this kind of view, right? You'll be able to quickly see what you've changed. We've already done this, of course, but it's always good practice to just make sure you do that before you hit the submit my PR button, right? And then finally, some reviewer on your team, they come to your page, they look at your changes, they say, you know what? Man, that combo junkie, he writes some really good code, okay? I'm going to merge his stuff into the main code base. And all this is doing is this is going to take what I've done in my feature branch, and it's going to merge it into the main branch, right? It's going to merge it into main. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to confirm the merge, and it was successfully merged and closed. So, oh, wait, I wanted to show you guys the PR actually here. That there should be 3 PRs here now. Let me just make sure that is working. And there we go. We got 3 PRs, right? 5 commits and 1 branch. I'm going to go delete that branch. So this 1 branch is going to go to 0 branches, right? Because we're done. This ticket is finally closed out. This is the longest we've worked on a ticket, and we grossly underpointed it, right? 3 points was extremely arrogant of me. Just like 8 points for this craziness here is extremely arrogant of me. So, obviously, this sprint, we're learning a lot, right? This is only our second sprint. We're learning quite a bit. Next sprint, I think we're going to be way more prepared to properly size these coming tickets. So let's go back over to our GitHub experience, and we want to delete that branch. We don't want this sitting around anymore. Now that it's been merged into the main code base, we can safely delete that. If we need to back those changes out, well, that's what commit history is for, right? If we needed to back these specific changes out and take the main branch back to a state that it was prior to this commit, we can obviously revert back to that previous commit. We can even create a version of the main branch that has everything, even after this commit, except for these changes, right? We can cherry pick these out. So it's a lot of cool stuff you can do with a versioning tool like Git. I remember in another life, I used to use this thing called subversioning. Yo, it was SVN. It was insane. Okay, so at the time I didn't think it was very insane. I'll be honest. At the time I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty awesome because it was my first introduction into versioning, right? Into code managing with multiple people contributing to a single code base. So with SVN being the only thing I knew at the time, it was like, man, this is awesome. Like, we all can work on the same thing. And then, okay, but you all have to be really careful when it comes to merging things in, because there's no like real version of history on SVN, right? It's kind of like give one release manager all of your code, and then they'll just save everything. And then I started playing around with Git and like Bitbucket, and I'm seeing like versioning and all these different branching and Git merges and fast forwarding and rebasing, and it's like, what? These tools are so cool. So yeah, I am a huge fan of GitHub. If you guys don't understand the flow, please go read some books. Please go watch some videos on the Git flow. It is extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. And for what we're doing, some of you are probably like, dude, why do you even have a branch? Like, just use main. But trust me, the moment you introduce one more developer to this, it would make perfect sense. You guys would see it instantly if we had even just one more developer. So yeah. All right. So that being said, finally done with the homepage. We are completely done with the homepage, and I must admit that I am blown away by how good this thing looks. For us to have done 0 CSS, 0 HTML, well, 0 real HTML, right? We didn't really write any HTML. We didn't. We stole everything from all these different places. Thank God to modern tools, right? We used ShadCN. Really big shout out to ShadCN, right? Our goal was to find a tool that would allow us to create these really robust components and have to do 0 setup, right? We enabled the ShadCN a NextJS version of ShadCN, right? They had a Next starter. So we enabled that, and boom, we were off running after that. Everything worked out of the box. Tailwind CSS, another one that we've been using constantly. You guys see me going to this website over and over. It's giving us everything we need, right? So, and the other side of that, now don't get me wrong, this isn't like, holy crap, let's go sell this template. This is for our purposes, this is fine, right? This is totally fine. This looks weird. I'm going to refresh this page and hopefully oh wait, we shut the app down. And React is so clever, guys, that it lazy loads when pages are image heavy. My future team leader, when will you hire me, say, oh, what's up, Use Time? What's up, Use? How you doing, dude? Let's get the DJ horns. What's good? I'm going to hire you at some point, man. Okay, all right. So what we want to do is we want to fire up the app and just make sure that that little glitch we just saw was not something like a real error. And I think what's happening is, if I'm not mistaken, any React experts can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if I had to guess, right, the way these pieces of DOM are being bootstrapped to the page, like through the component system, right, is kind of like lazy injection. It's like lazy JavaScript DOM manipulation. So as you scroll down, I think React actually starts to say, well, I need to go grab more content. I need to actually load more things. So that's why I think as you scroll down, you can see everything's populated here. But when we disconnect midway through, then start scrolling down, where it can't find the rest of this content. And that's why you can have like 60 pieces of content on the page and it won't go slow like back in the day, right? Where you couldn't even scroll at all if you had more than like 10 pieces of content on the page. It just choke up on you. All right, enough of that. Enough of that. I am ready, guys. Okay, you have no idea how excited I am that we can finally move on to what I think is going to be the most fun project we've done so far, which is our concept of a section front. Okay, what do I mean when I say section front? So a section front means basically it's a place, it's a template to peruse through content of a certain category or by a certain person. Right? So, for example, if we click this Wii Sports game here, all right, that might not have been the smartest thing to do. We need something that has a tag, but let's just go here. We click this, the Inquisitor. If we click this Inquisitor tag, this section front is nothing but Inquisitor content. Okay, now if there was more Inquisitor content on this page, you can imagine an experience where I can scroll and scroll and scroll until my heart's content, right? And let's actually see if we can get some infinite scroll action here. Here's an example of infinite scroll, right? As I get to the bottom fast enough, you can see a loading graphic at the bottom. And then all of a sudden, bloop, a bunch of stories pops in, right? And I can keep doing this as much as I want. I see a bunch of different content. This is what we're going to be building. So we always break our work into 3 different phases. The first thing we do is we wireframe our designs. So we're not just going in blind, but we have a goal of a page template that we want to create. Then we go into the NextJS application and make a static representation of our desired outcome. So this template that we have in front of us, we want to go make a static version of it in the app, right? And then once that static version is put together and we're satisfied with the outcome, we go connect it to the data that's actually in our database. But the one like bonus assignment that we're giving ourselves today is we would like to introduce the infinite scrolling wall to the section pages. And the reason I added that as a bonus piece, because my hope is that ShadCN has something out of the box that we can just borrow. I don't know if it does. Infinite scroll is not something that traditionally you can just go grab because it requires that you do some refetching of data and then injecting that as a whole component to the page. So if you imagine that our story wall, for example, we just closed it, of course, but if we go back to our localhost 3000, if you imagine this story wall was infinitely scrolling, then the story wall itself can just be like, give me 12 pieces of content. But then when the scroll depth reaches like here, I want you to give me another 12 pieces of content and like inject it to the bottom of that page. Oh, what's up? One of my boys just texted me. One of my guys just texted me, man. One of my really, really good friends, basically my mentor right now, actually, just texted me. Welcome to the stream, Mr. Anonymous. So yeah, so you can inject those things to the page, and that's kind of what infinite scroll is, right? So it's really unlikely that a library like ShadCN will have something out of the box for you. That's not to say they won't have it. I can already see there's this concept of pagination here, but that's just literal pagination, right? That's like literally just this toolbar, which does nothing for us, right? So we're on our own, guys. We're gonna have to figure out infinite scroll ourselves. So that's gonna be so much fun. So let's dive in. Let's head over to our Jira board, our nice, beautiful Jira board. Let's finally close this thing out. Oh my God, this ticket kicked our butt. But it really feels really good to be able to finally say we're done with that. I'm actually going to take a small detour though. Before I get into this next ticket, I want to show my anonymous mentor I want to show them one thing real quick that we've created that kind of puts us in a really good position to potentially, for example, right now this is a lot of dummy content, but what we've built puts us in a position to maybe take like Pokemon data or go to some news websites and grab RSS feed information and populate this site with real data. So these kind of content generation tools that we've built. So just real quick, anonymous. If we come back into my code base and let's just shut this stuff down, I'm gonna head over to the studio. That's where the this tool, right, this content generation tool is. So if you go into scripts, we have this script called create data. Now it's ugly right now, don't get me wrong, there are many ways that I can optimize this. For those who joined the stream last week, you guys heard me talk a lot about some of the things that we could and should do if we were contributing this create data functionality, right, this build me some fake data, if we were contributing this to our DevOps crew, right? And we were saying, hey, developers, locally, you guys can use this tool to quickly hydrate your data lake with content. We would not do it in such a like kind of messy way, right? It would need to be a lot cleaner, a lot more well thought out. Some of this stuff that we see here, it's reusable. A lot of it is just the same thing over and over. However, okay, we're the only developer in trendjunkie.com. We don't care about cleanliness. All we care about is getting the job done. So right now, everything that we see here, of course it should be 4 different files, maybe 5 actually, but we have it all in one file. But here's the, for anonymous, right? This is the bread and butter of it. Essentially what I can do is I can leverage this script and I'm guaranteed to stay within the free tier of Sanity's rate limitations. Not just stay within the free tier, but right now, today, if you breach their rate limit, they shut you down. Okay? They actually kill your request, even if you've batched it. However, you can use tools that actually keep you just below that threshold, and that's what we've set up here. So don't get me wrong, I did borrow some of this from the bright minds at Sanity. They actually put this together, but they're saying, hey, if you have a bunch of stuff to import, like big images, and you got big files, a lot of different pieces of data, and a lot of different content types to hydrate, well, here are some techniques that you can employ to make sure when you do your migration, you're staying well within reason, right? And you're not going to get disconnected because of our rate limits. So for us, it worked out perfect, right? So just to recap for you, Anonymous, we have this concept of a news website. The meat and potatoes of the news website is our story content, right? So we have stories, and then those stories can reference tags and people. So those are the 3 content types. So the way the script works is first it creates however many tags and however many people you want to disperse across the content. So right now I have it creating 5 people and then 5 tags. I can do 20 people, I can do 20 tags. All of that is well within the rate limitations. No problems there. Then the next thing I do is I want to create a bunch of stories because that's really the big amount of content that I need. But this is where you start to get into trouble, right? So what they allow you to do is there's this tool called p-limit, which is basically like a rate limiter for you. Like some team built this p limitation system which allows you to say, I want to do things nice and slow and I may want to batch them out, right? So I want to make sure that if you are running calls in parallel on your back end, that you allow me to get done with, like, let's say a first batch, like one batch of 5 items before you make a consecutive second call. So that way, if we know from Sanity's documentation, which we do, if we know what the limitations are for their data lake when you're writing to their API, if you know those limitations, you can use a tool like ptag or like pq, right? There's another one called pq, Anonymous, that is exactly like imagine Drupal's queue system, right? Imagine Drupal's queue, or any queue system in the world, right? There's a PQ module that I don't know if it's Sanity's. I think it's from the same people that make p-limit, but it's the same concept at scale. So you can and you can do a lot more things with it. But yeah, the way this script works is it's going to go through, create the innermost things that you need, And then it's going to create the bigger things, like, for example, it'll create the people and the tags, and then it'll create stories, and it'll use those tags and people that you just generated to help hydrate the rest of your story. It's really cool. I'm going to go ahead and run a test for you really quick. We have an alias set up where we can just run generate content GC, and it'll run through it for you. It's really fast though. Watch this. So we're going to do generate content here. It's loading, thinking, I guess. I don't know what it's doing. There we go. All right, so now it's going to delete the previously added stories, and then it's going to create the 5 tags that it needs, right? And then it's going to move on to the people. Now, mind you, while it's doing this, it's making sure that it doesn't move so fast that it goes over these rate limits, because the people need images, the tags need images, they need to like calculate slugs, they need to populate the field data, etc. So it's doing all of that processing and communicating with Sanity, but it's doing it in such a way that it never breaches their rate limit. It's really cool. So now it's going to create these stories, right? And then I know this is just from my development and my testing this. I know that I breached that rate limit whenever I tried to do 20 stories at first in batches, right? I tried to do batches of 20 stories, and I wasn't using P limit either, but I tried to do 20 stories, and sure enough, I hit the rate limit. I was like, what's going on? And then finally I introduced 2 things. I introduced a sleep command just at the onset of the, like, when you first go to start building a story batch, right? When you first go to start, it waits a couple seconds, right, before it actually goes in, because I need to go out to Faker to get images. And you can imagine, Anonymous, that these images live on, like, let's say an image server, an image hosting server, right? These images could live there, and the reference to where they are can be coming from a JSON feed. Right? This script doesn't care, but what they do is they allow you to store that image in a buffer, like temporarily, like a temp space, and then download it to the Sanity cloud. So in the end, all of those images you saw on my fake website, those are being served from Sanity CDN. Free of charge. I haven't paid a dime for any of this. So if anyone's interested, okay, in making like a profile website, like making a website for your let's say you are a developer and you do your main job, but you also do contract work on the side. Sanity Studio is a great content management system for housing things like projects and organizing your site really well, so that you can, easily say, I did this project for this client. Here's the summary. Here's the title. Here's a link to it. Right? And then you can do that in such a structured way for free. You know what I mean? Like, you're not paying extra money for this stuff either. So it's really helpful. Yeah, I was too, Anonymous. That's really cool to find out that they actually do hook you up. Now, I don't know how much they hook you up. It could be the case that the bigger you get, the more it's like, okay, guys, you're going to have to start paying, because we're not going to house 8 gig for you for free here. You get a little crazy. So, yeah, I don't know what the threshold is. I'm pretty sure they talk about it in their documentation. But yeah, sorry for everyone that have seen that already on YouTube or Twitch, but I wanted Anonymous to get caught up there, because I feel like that's so exciting to see. All right, so let's head back over to the browser if I can get it open. And I think what I want to do real quick is go over to our studio. So let us open that. I just want to see the new content that was created. So I'll do open app, and then I'll also do open studio here. So I think that was SSS. Now we'll get both of them open. So here is our app, and we should see all different images, all different titles. You see, right? This is brand new content. This is fresh content that we just generated, right? We deleted everything else. So if we come here, this is our, remember we have that flag too that says if it's featured content, the image is 1400 by 600. However, if it's normal content, it's 600 by 400. So this is, the possibilities are endless. All right, so then we got 333. This is where we host our studio. We talked a little bit last week about the separation of concerns. Anonymous, for your ears, right? We were attempting originally to house our studio and our NextJS application in the exact same project, and we dealt with the most dependency hell ever. And then sure enough, when I read the best practices, separation of concerns when it comes to packages that don't overlap directly is the best practice. So they're saying have a designated location for your. I mean, you can have it in a Next.js app, but they were saying, yeah, totally, yeah. So I was so silly. I was so silly when I had them married, and then I had like all of these dependencies for Next.js that were conflicting with Sanity Studio, and now I'm debugging errors just because of these like conflicting packages. It was like, you know what? This is a waste of time. Let me just separate these out. So yeah, now that we have them separate, it's been a lot easier to deal with. So yeah, we can see here we got these stories that we just generated. We're only generating a handful right now. When we get to the infinite scroll work, we'll definitely generate more than just 20 stories. But I think for now this is good. We can move on here. We got our tags, got our peoples, and that is good. We have a bunch of undefined people here. These should have been deleted actually. I wonder if my person content type. Oh, these are all those movie people. Remember we had the. Oh my goodness! I'm gonna have to delete all of this. You know what I'll do? You know what I'll do? This next. You know what I'm gonna do in the IDE? Let's actually do this now. So there's a query, right, that is responsible for deleting content before we import new content. What I want to do is I want to release the fake flag from here, so that when this query runs. What this means, if I remove this part of the query, right now every content type we've created has a fake Boolean, right? If the fake Boolean is true, it means that our system generated it. So that way, when we eventually go to production and we pull down like a clone of that data lake, I don't know if you can do that, but if we can, then we don't want to be deleting real live content, right? We only want to delete the fake stuff we generate. For right now, though, we only have fake content, right? So what I'm going to say is that on this next content creation run that I'm about to do now, I want you to delete everything, no matter what, right? If it's a story, a tag, or a person, kill it. So let's do that now. I'm going to shut down the studio. We're going to do a generate content call, and now we should see it delete everything on the onset and then recreate that content for it. So you can see here it's deleting fake stories, people, and tags. Of course, we know it's doing more than that. That was way too fast. Wait, it says there was some kind of mutation error. I wonder, is it complaining because the content type? Oh, we need to delete movie too. So we had person, we had movie. I forgot the other thing we had. What was the other thing we had, guys? It was like person, movie, and something else. Was it like script or something? I don't remember. Let's just see if this works. Because we do have other content types that we're just not exposing in the UI right now. We wiped them all out when we first got them. All right, that didn't work either. So screening is what it was. Screening. I think it's screening. Okay. Now let's see if I think there were only 3. I want to say there were only 3. Cancel that. I think there were only 3. I'm almost. I'm not gonna say I'm almost certain, but yeah, there we go. So now it's doing what it needs to do. So we never need to see this again, right? Because we're never gonna have screening or a movie. And for anyone that's curious, the reason we were seeing that there is because the very first Sanity Studio we built was bare bones. We didn't use anything. But when we went to do our separation of concerns, right, where we separated the studio from the app, we actually used the they have a starter kit that's like a movie database. It's a really cool starting point. I wish we would have known about it ahead of time, but it allowed us to really play around with some of the like cool UI features that they've baked in. So that's kind of where that came from. But now we'll never see that again. Now we can say fake equals true here. And now it'll only delete fake content again. So we can do that. Actually, I don't know why I always do that. I could have just did this instead of retyping that. I could have just undid everything I did there. But it looks like we have all of our content back. Let's go back to the IDE. I'll go ahead and start our Sanity Studio. There we go, open in browser. Let's head back to the browser and let's just see if the people are now just just 5 people, just 5 tags, and then we have 20 stories. So that looks great. Now let's move on to our beautiful section front, okay? So it looks like, hang on, let's go move these tickets to in progress as well. We have to be organized, guys. You see what happened with that homepage ticket? If it wasn't for Jira, we'd be all over the place right now. So if you are a aspiring developer and even if you work for just like your friends and family on the side, I still would recommend you take advantage of these free to use tools and keep everything you do as organized as possible, because as you can see, it is really easy for a developer's brain to go like, oh geez, squirrel. Like, we love it. So all right, so let's start on this one, the creating the static design in the app. We're gonna convert what we see here to an actual design in the application. And this shouldn't be too bad, right? What I'm seeing here, if I'm being honest, is we have the same kind of content well. We have an overlay effect here. I love the fact that there is an opacity on that background shade. That's really cool. Look at me shouting out myself like I didn't design it. But it's pretty cool. So I think this is going to be fine. And what I like about this design is it kind of imitates this a bit, right? We have our image to the left, don't get me wrong, it's kind of a landscape version, but when it comes to the metadata like topic, title, summary, and byline, that's really the same thing we have here. We didn't really do much different with it. So that should be easy for us to just stack on top of one another. So let's dive into that. We are going to open up our Jira. We're going to open up one of these tickets and create ourselves a branch, right? This should be starting from where main last left off, which is what we just committed. So this is going to branch from that main branch, which is totally fine with us. We don't have a developed branch right now. Again, it is best practice to have that in place. We just don't need it for our purposes. The bigger our site gets, the more people we allow to contribute to the code base. We will start introducing some of the... Actually, as soon as we introduce Vercel, we're going to start introducing the concept of a develop branch, because when you push something into main, you want to set it up in such a way where you can deploy only your main branch into production, right? So you never want to deploy any branch besides main into production. So we will need to have some kind of develop branch, because we'll need to be able to validate things in our lower environments, right? Our development environment. So we haven't gotten there yet, thank God. We're all local development. No one's breathing down our necks yet. So, all right. So let's go ahead and check this branch out. I'll go ahead and copy that branch name, head back to the IDE. We'll shut these apps down right now. I'm going to go ahead and close that studio directory, and I'm gonna go to sroot here, and I'm gonna cd into, what do we have here to cd into? I'll cd into Trend Junkie, which is the name of the news website. And if I do an ls here, I should just see two directories, Studio and Junkie. If I do ls-la, which is show me even the hidden files, we'll see we have a Git directory in here. This lets me know that this is the directory where I established my Git connection. So now I should be able to do a git fetch to say, give me the latest branches. We can see the Trend Junkie 19 static tags design ticket is now in place, which means I am ready to check it out and start working. So I do my git checkout, switch to the branch, and now we can start writing some React. All right, so you guys know this isn't my forte, but I'm getting a lot better, okay? I'm getting a lot better. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make it so that when you navigate to one of those pages, when you click any tag, that you actually go somewhere. And we were close, right? We were getting there. So how do you do that? That's the question. And here's what I think you're supposed to do. I think inside the app, you make a new folder called, I think you call it like open parenthesis like that, and then slug like that, maybe. And then I think you add a new file called index.ts. Okay, so I'm just going to do hello world. But no, you have to in some way say the word tag in here. So yeah, we're gonna have to go find out how to do this. There's no way I'm gonna be able to wing this. Let's go back to the browser and just like find out. So I'm just gonna search for NextJS app router, and I'm guessing in here they're gonna give us the folder structure, which there's no reason to. Yeah, let's do building your application. And I recommend anybody who doesn't know the answer by heart, like there's nothing wrong with tinkering. I love to tinker. You guys have seen me tinker quite a bit. But some of this stuff is like, there's only one way to do this, okay? This isn't the time to tinker. Also, don't forget that ChatGPT is a resource these days, even if you just use it as a search engine, right? So right now, I just Googled this, but you can also ask these questions of ChatGPT, and they'll do their best to try and help out. So don't be the guy that's like, I'm too cool for ChatGPT, because it's the equivalent of Googling in modern development. Okay, it's not like they're going to give you the exact answer, but they will point you in the right direction. Same as this documentation that we're looking at right now is pointing us to the right direction. So just throwing that out there. All right, now we need to see how to do the slug part. And what's crazy is, remember, Matt taught us this. He showed us this, but it was so fast. He did it all so fast. All right, so it says here's routes. Excuse me. Each folder represents a route segment that maps to a URL segment. So yeah, it's something like this, right? Let's see. Here we go, dynamic routes. Yay! I think this is it, guys. Yay! This is it. We found it. All right, let's go back to the IDE. It's actually way easier than I thought. I'm a little embarrassed I couldn't wing that, right? So let's go back to the browser. Let's just talk through this. So the example that they gave is here, and it's really straightforward what we have to do. So really what they're saying is like, all right, if you have a dynamic page, what I'm going to allow you to do is I'm going to allow you to just assume what the slug is from the browser. So as long as you give me the directive, meaning like if you have any path parts, you owe me that. So give me a blog directory, okay? And then give me a directory called slug. And whenever I see a URL structured like /blog/ anything, I'm going to assume that's what you mean. Okay. And then after that, if you want to just give me this, if you want to export this default page, okay, you can do it this way, right? This is just going to be your default value, the HTML that gets rendered to the page. And for us, we have that layout already configured to always include our header, always include our footer. So all we're going to be on the hook for is the things that appears between the header and footer, right? We're going to be on the hook for this splash image. We're going to be on the hook for the story wall, right? And that's it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start setting this up for our section experience. I'll head back to the IDE. It's really straightforward. We were close, actually. So it's going to be section, and then the slug directory goes in section, right? That. And then it's not index.ts, it's actually page.ts. I'm going to do page.ts. And now I'm going to borrow from them the markup that they have here. This is exactly what we want because we are using TypeScript. So I'll go ahead and borrow that. We'll head back to the IDE, and I should be able to literally paste this as is. Well, actually, nope. There are some things that I can't get away with. And I actually didn't think that would not work, but okay. Wait, let me see what this is complaining about, because I honestly thought that would be fine. Oh, wait, I have to, like, import stuff, don't I? No, this is not doing anything. Here, let me get rid of this first off. I think I need that. And, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with my, syntax there? That looks fine to me. Oh wait, am I on the hook for a, no, that's not right. All right, hang on, let me see what's not working here. Oh, this is not a .ts file, this is a .tsx file, because we are using HTML markup as well, so, Yeah, there we go. And now it works just fine. So now, another thing that I learned is that you get something out of the box. You get data back out of the box when you're standing up these slug pages, and they basically have the page information in place for you. So what I'm going to show you guys right now is whenever I click on one of those, and this was actually something that Matt taught us as well, right? How we can say that I'm expecting an object, right? Go ahead and destructure it because the only thing I care about is the params variable or key. And then what you should expect is a params key and a slug key that's a string type. That's the object you should expect. And we actually wrote an interface for this at some point. I don't know if it's in here. It might have been in that other code base, but we did have an interface for this. Let's go fix this compilation error here. It's probably just a ghost error. Yeah, there we go. That's not a real error. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start up the app, and we'll hit one of our section links, and we should see the actually, let's go ahead and instead of doing div, we'll do h1 here. Because I want to see the big black text, okay? So let's go ahead and open that in the browser. Let's head back over there. And now we'll get our home page, right? All of these images are fresh. So this is the first time we're hitting them in the CDN. It still needs to grab them. Why am I getting an odd number of stories? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're getting 9 stories instead of 10. A little interesting. I would have imagined. Oh, wait, we can't control that anymore. Because what's happening here is we're only getting non-featured stories. So stories that were not marked as featured. That's what we're getting back. So we can't control that. We can't control which items we see here versus here unless we go manually change that. Actually, I want to do that though. I am going to go do that real quick. I do want to say, let's go grab this one for example. I'm going to set this guy to be featured just so we can have an even number. Just so we can have an even number in the system. What is he? Oh no, he's a tag, isn't he? I need the story title. AUT, some title. AUT. Okay, all right, let's click that. Come on, click it. Wait, are we not running the? I don't think we're running the studio. We're only running the app. So let's go ahead and fire up the studio as well. All right, there we go. Open in browser. We'll head back over to the browser, and now go to stories and let's do AUT, which is right here. That image is really weird for a white background too. I don't love it. But where's our featured checker? Here's our featured checker, right? So we can actually set this to featured. Oh, but that image is gonna be really weird now, right? Because that image is really small. Yeah, let's see what that looks like. Now I'm curious. I think that's gonna look really weird unless we upload the right sized image. Yeah, that looks terrible. Hey, why is this down so low? It's not the latest code. Oh, wait, I think I know what's happening. I don't think we have relative on our container. Yeah, we do. Maybe it's because that image size is so weird. Let me see what happens if I get rid of this from our feature section. Yeah, that was it, dude. What? I'm just gonna delete that content, but what? That's crazy. We would definitely get dinged by a client for that. It's like, dude, every time I move these images around, it breaks my whole site. That's crack development right there, baby. That's next level development right there, baby. That's hilarious. Okay, there's obviously some things we need to figure out for that. So let's not get too distracted. Okay, we're going to click a section front, and we did it. It worked. Okay, so our section fronts are working as expected, and we are getting variable values. So here's what we have to do now, right? Now that we have these dynamic pages stood up, what we have to do, you can kind of imagine it, right? We have to be able to say, first of all, use this information, use only this slug information to go out to Sanity Studio and query based on this slug, right? Because those are unique. Slugs are extremely unique. You cannot have two documents with the exact same slug. Never, ever in Sanity will you be able to do that. So, and this is why, right? Because we need a unique identifier to be able to do that. So the query we need to, so first off, we need to be able to query the Sanity database for two things, right? The first thing we need to query is we need to say, hey, Sanity, give me back all the details for a tag with this particular slug. Okay, and then that's going to give us an object that we can project. The second query we need, actually, let's write these notes down. So the first query we need is, hey, Sanity, give me back all the details for the tag with this specific slug. And then the next one is, hey, Sanity, give me back all the stories where all the stories that have been tagged with this specific tag. Okay, or stories that have this specific tag. That probably suffices. Okay, so the first thing I want to do for us is I want to hold off on querying and get our static template in place, and we are going to use this one page to do that, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to steal the wrapper from that other page that we had, right? We had another page with a wrapper. I don't even know if we need to do that. No, we do need to do that, because what we just saw is that everything is still stretching out to the full width of the page, and we already have some HTML markup that will contain that in the center. So let's just borrow that from, I don't know, it doesn't matter where, right? We can go story wall. We just need that section tag. This is always kind of a good starting point anyway. So I'm gonna just close out section, and then what I'll do here is I like to do a background color on this. So I think it's just background black or BG black maybe. And I'll just put hello world here. And I'll say text white. And this is going to just let me know whether or not the container that's going to house all of my page's content, whether the container is actually correct, right? So I will save that, and then I'll go back over to the browser. And there we go, right? We can see that the container, I like that distance. I like that width and that height. And then look where the word hello starts. That's actually good, right? The word hello starts at a bit of an inset, almost lined up with our hamburger menu, but not exactly. So I think that looks artistically fine. It could probably be more aligned with where the hamburger menu starts, but I just don't care enough. It doesn't look bad enough for me to do anything about it. But if we did want to change it, where's the padding here? There's some padding rules on one of these DOMs. So I could be like padding left 4 maybe, and you can see it just moved, it shifted. If I go 8, it shifts some more. If I go, what, maybe 12 would do it. I don't know what the magic number needs to be, but you can't use any number here. You have to use very specific numbers for these measurements, but I don't know what the number needs to be. We would have to go to the site and find out, but I honestly think this default is fine for now. So now let's go back to our IDE and just like kind of sketch out what elements we need inside this section. So the first element we need, and when I say elements, I really mean things that are eventually going to become our structured components, right? So this page, in my mind, has two main components to it, right? The first component this page has is a featured card, okay? It's that thing you see at the top of the page that says, hey, here's the term that you're on, here's the image for that term, etc., right? So there's a featured card, and then there's also a Let's go ahead and comment that out. And then there's a feature card, and then there's also a story wall, another instance of a story wall. But this isn't like a this isn't the same story wall that we have, right? This is a different component. And maybe story wall isn't the right name for it. Maybe this is story teaser. Right? Maybe this is like a story teaser. I'm gonna call it a story. Naming things, dude. I'm telling you, if for any developers out there, there's a few really hard things in development, and one of them, believe it or not, is naming things. So I'm just gonna call this like our story bank. Yeah, let's call this a story bank. A story wall is really what it is. But we've already used that component name. I'm just gonna go with story bank, and then we'll just know that the story bank is what we use on section and person, and we'll use story bank for related content. But then the story wall is the only thing that we used on the homepage. Okay, yeah, that's what we'll story bank is. Story bank it is. All right, I am very thirsty. All right. Okay. All right. So our featured card is going to have a container. So it's going to be a divider there. And inside of it, there's a... I actually want to do a background image. I don't know how to do that yet, but let's not even worry about the background image. We know, though, that there's going to be an image, right? So we'll use the image... let's go use our image from the... Doesn't matter where, right? We've used it all over the place. Let's use it. Let's use the one that we did here. And then we'll just give it a temporary source for now. We don't even need this, right? We can scrap this for now. We just need... And I think it was like /image. What did we say here? Oh, /mock. /mock. Does this even work? I don't know if this works from here. All right, hang on. Let's import image and find out. I don't know if it works from where I am right now, if the public paths still work. We'll see in a second. Let's just go grab that image import. And we know we'll need link. We might as well grab that while we're here. Okay, so then for image, I think it's /mock. Yeah, see, they're not even giving it. This equals /mock. Or I think you can only do backticks in here. /mock. Yeah, they're not auto. Which one was it? No, it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one either. We had mock images. I could have sworn we did. Oh, promo. It was promo. So let's go back to that file. Maybe we can do promo. Promo /1.png. And then for alt, we'll just say some alt text. And then class name dark invert. I don't know what that is and why that's there, but I really like it. We'll do the 1400, 1600 image height and width again. That's the same size of our carousel. Oh, we got a new follow. What's up, Deep? Oh, Deep LFO. Let's go. Make sure y'all follow Deep, okay? Make sure y'all go like and subscribe. Some of the best music you gonna hear in the southern regions of the world, okay? Let's go. Follow Hype. All right, that looks crazy. I think that we need to declare that this is full width. So maybe it's W full here. No, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't even that didn't even take. I think maybe it requires that I say W full. This is tailwind, right? So, nope, that didn't take either. So for some reason, our image here is a little small. What we really want to see here is that this image takes up the full 1400, because if we go look back in the IDE, this image is 1400 pixels. If I'm not mistaken, I intentionally made these the right size. Where's properties? Let me do reveal in file. You guys can't see this, but I'll just reveal. I'm gonna go here and go properties and just confirm that the dimensions are what I would expect. Yeah, 1400 by 600. So the fact that we're seeing it constrained in a container that we're in lets me know that that's a style thing. That's something we did to, like, I'm not gonna say something we did necessarily, but something inside of our code here is preventing it from stretching as far as it needs to. So I know that this needs to be our container, right? There's no doubt in my mind about that. What I am gonna say though is, so I know it needs to be. Hang on, let's declare some class names. It needs to be relative because this guy's gonna be absolute, right? This guy's gonna be absolute, and it's gonna be absolute, and it's gonna be bottom 0, left 0. Okay, just so it can, because we want this to be the background and a black overlay on top of it. I don't know why this isn't working, but I could have sworn this was going to be like with full. Let's go back to the browser and see if that did anything. And no, it did not. It actually just made things way worse. It made things a little worse, okay? So we have to figure out this HTML, guys. I'm actually going to take the black background off of this. And I think I'll make this container relative, the biggest one. Nope, that doesn't work either. Not worry about that. It's like my width and height are being ignored. Did it float left? All right. Let me think about this, guys. Let me think. So right now, our image is absolute, which in my opinion should be fine. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that. Oh, there's a grid rule here. There's a grid rule here that I don't think we need, right? That's going to place us at 50%. Okay, so what I did wrong there was I'm using the wrong wrapper, right? Let's go use the wrapper that we built for our carousel instead of the wrapper that we built for the story wall, because the carousel is exactly what we want to replicate, right, in that top area. So what we're going to do is our section container here is actually going to be the full carousel, right? And you can see there's no grid here. This is actually saying center me and give me the same amount of margin on the left as you have on the right of me. And then we have a little bit of top margin just to make sure that it's not squeezing too high up against the header there. So I'm gonna leave this div, this divider, right? But I'm gonna just save it as that, so I can see where we are, right? What does it look like right now if I have a single container? So going back, that's much better, right? That's a lot better. The image is big. However, now we see that the image is not contained inside this guy. So I'm gonna remove the absolute rules here, now that we don't have relative, and that looks a lot better, right? Now we have exactly what we would expect. So that's a big image. I think I'm okay with that deep image, okay? I said that deep image. I'm saying hello to deep LFO, and I'm mixing up my words. Deep LFO! What's good, dude? Let's go. Let's go. We got deep LFO in the building. Yo, it's a very happy day in Twitch land when you get blessed with deep LFO in the chat, okay? It's good to have you in here, man. Okay, so let's go back to our IDE and let's get rid of these classes. We don't need these yet. We might need them eventually. Actually, we do need them. I'm going to put a relative class on this div. And now I think that absolute rule should be respected, right? So if we go back to the browser, we'll see that now, even though this image is set to absolute, that it's still contained within that DOM, right? So now the next thing we need is, remember back on the wireframe, we had this kind of a floating, like maybe it's about 60% width, right? Maybe it's more like 70% width, and it's about, I would say maybe 15%. Yeah, so it's about a 70% height div with the title and the summary. I'm not gonna do that math though. What I am gonna do is my width math. I do want to make sure that this doesn't breach 70% of the DOM in width, but I think we can end it there, right? So, and the only place we want to anchor it to is like the left, and then we want it to be centered, right? So I think we can do a margin top, margin bottom auto. So margin X auto, I think it is, or margin Y auto. We'll see in a second. Yeah, margin Y auto. So in order to do that, what we can do is we can say margin Y auto here. And I think here we can add a divider where we can say that for the class name here, we'll say we want this to be absolute left 0. Okay, and then let's just say hello world. And what we would expect to happen on the front end is that there's and we'll do the background of black here, so we'll say BG black, and we expect there to just be a black strip randomly in the center of the DOM that says hello world, right? So we'll do BG black, and then let's make the text white just so we can kind of see what's happening, right? Let's go back to the browser, and that's not the page we want. This is something we need to keep open. Let's go back to the app, and we're not quite, right? It's not quite what we're looking for. That's not quite what we're looking for, but it's not that far off, right? So right now what's happening is it's not respecting the absolute rule. So this is relative. What is not working? So left 0, we see it's getting left 0. Let's see. Wonder if here is where I have to say like let me see bottom 10. Does it move at all? No, it doesn't move. Do negative bottom 10. No, it's not moving there at all. Did I spell absolute wrong? No, I didn't. I feel like the absolute rule isn't being respected. Oh, wait. I need absolute on this guy. I actually do need him to be absolute. I don't know why I removed that. This image does need to be absolute. Is it absolute? I don't see the... Okay, there we go. I must have broken something with this image. Absolute bottom 0, left 0, and then... So the image is going to be anchored. Let's just do top 0, left 0. So the image should be anchored. Where is my image? Where'd it go? I'm actually going to do right 0 and bottom 0 as well. Wait, man, I forget how to stretch this out. There's a trick you do to make sure that this is stretched all the way out, but I guess what I'll do is just add that to the... Let me get rid of this and see what happens. Oh, maybe it's the... No, it's not any of that. Here, let me go back a little bit. Go to the IDE. Let's think about this. What could be causing this? We did add this MY auto rule. I'm not sure why that would cause a disruption, but let's just see. I think right now our main priority is getting our image back. Like, we just had that thing in place. I'm actually going to comment out the... Oh, wait, that's not the... How did it get to there? There we go. That was like... that was like Twitch hell right there. I don't know how that happened. Okay, so if I go back to the IDE, not to the IDE, but if I go back to the browser, that's so weird that our image is gone now. What did I do different? We do want this to be relative. Maybe I do have to do width full. No, that had absolutely no. Oh, that did have a somewhat of a. All right, I'm gonna refresh this. I'm getting rid of the with full again. Okay, so that is the problem. With you need to declare a with if you're gonna do, um, and this is me guessing again, but I'm guessing if you're gonna do absolute positioning, your relative DOM has to declare the width, right? And that kind of makes sense too when you think about it. So now this is so weird though that now we're back to that space where hang on, let me see what I did. Oh, I did it again, guys. I went back too far. Sorry. Okay, there we go. That should be fine. All right, let me just save that, make sure that we are back in business. Really? No, you have to do relative if you're going to make this guy absolute, which you want to. I suppose you don't have to. But I would imagine this would just work though. Like if this is a full width container, actually let's find out what happens with that and let's get rid of it here. So that works, but then now, what would the idea be to add another container inside of this one? That doesn't really sound right. I would imagine that I could do everything inside of this container alone. All right, let's try it. I just want to try it. If it works, great, I guess. But I'm a little confused why that's not working. But basically, we're getting rid of our. We're gonna keep that there. We're gonna add a new class name here. Give it a relative position. And yeah, that's actually not a bad idea what they just recommended there. Because the items are now gonna need to be flexed. Oh, you guys couldn't see what they recommended. But anyway, that's kind of where we are now with the code. And I have a container inside of a container, which, yeah, see, that didn't work either. And that wouldn't even make sense for that to work. Let me just do H full too. Yeah, this is kind of weird. That's so weird. Go back to the IDE. Let's take a step back and get a lot more basic here. So I'm going to comment that out. So basically for our featured card, we should literally just have one div, one divider. The featured card itself has how are the items oriented? The items are oriented in, if we were to use flex, it would be flex column. But really what we're saying is we're going to have no display orientation, right? These are just going to be background absolutely positioned elements that kind of float inside the DOM. Oh, okay, that's going to be I think I get it. I think I know what's not working here then. So if we did with full here and we got rid of this absolute positioning here, I imagine this is going to work now without this extra div either. I'm guessing this is going to work. Yep, and it did, right? So now here's the thing. We are on the hook for a absolutely positioned, and I'm also going to add relative to the main container because remember, we are on the hook for the inner card, right? So if we head back over to the browser, if we look at our wireframe, we are on the hook for this, but that doesn't mean the image itself needs to be absolutely positioned. The image itself is actually fine as is. We need a container that goes like below the image or above the image that we can say that thing is absolutely positioned. So it shouldn't change any of the image's orientation. The image itself should still be exactly where it appears, but this black box, because remember all of this is inside of another box, right? So if we come here, all of this is inside of that outer div, the div with the width of relative, right? So if I add another DOM inside of here and I give it an absolute width, absolute position, I should be able to dictate wherever it appears in here. So let's try that. So I am going to go back to the IDE, and above the image, just above it, I'm going to add another div. I'm going to give it a... Oh, this thing is so awesome. Where's Matt? I got to give Matt a hug, okay? You guys remember Matt? He was on recently. He helped us out with this tab 9. So yeah, Anonymous, if you're still on Anonymous or Deep LFO, you got to check out tab 9. Okay, it is the game changer for. It's like AI for developers. It's so good. Yeah, so all right, let's do text white. We're just going to test this out. What we expect to see is that there's now this kind of opacity on this container, but our text should be there. Boom, got it. Our text is there. So, and we have our black background on that, right? So we have it width full right now. We can do like maybe I think it's width 3/5. I think that's more like 70%. Nope, that did not do it. What is the... We just saw what this was too. I can't remember what it was, but there is a tailwind representation of like 70% width, and that's kind of what we need here. So let's just look for percentages. There it is. Yeah, 3/5 is 60%. How's that not working? And if you notice here, we can actually... That's the problem with this. We can actually see that that's still covering the whole thing. I absolutely thought that would only cover some of it. And let me just see what that does if I add a width of 75% to the outside here. Yes, that should absolutely do what that claimed it would do. Do I have something wrong there? Width dash 3/5. Yeah, absolutely. Am I missing something? Okay, maybe this has to be calculated on the fly. Like I can't do this like this. I have to do it in code. Let's just do it here. So what did we change? We added this guy. I don't think we're gonna end up using the inset, but you know, I don't see any problem with adding it right now. Let's just do 3/5 here. Let's save that and see if the browser... Here, let me show you guys what I just did. So inside of the IDE, I just changed this to H-3/5 because sometimes Tailwind is kind of finicky with how it updates class declarations when you're in the browser. So sometimes you have to come back to your code, hit save so it recompiles, and then sometimes you can see those changes realized in the browser. So let's go back to our app, and yeah, sure enough, you can see that's what it was, right? So let's look at this. Let's actually look at this, because this might be the size that we're after. I feel like it's over to the right a little too much. So maybe 60% is too wide actually. As far as height is concerned, I'm actually gonna lose our height altogether. Maybe we'll see. Let's continue playing around with this. I think there's gonna be room to not declare a height though, and you'll see why in a second, because we have so much rich text, right? Like we have a lot of content in those tags. So I'm gonna actually drop to a 50% width. I think that might actually look a little better. So let's do W2/4. For now, I'm going to keep that height. It's going to be what helps me center this. But what I'll do is I'll say, what I want to say is like a top of 50%, bottom of 50%. So I'm going to come back to Tailwind. I'll say top, left, right, bottom, this guy right here. And I'm going to find 50% in this list. and that's what we're going to use. We're going to try and set a top and bottom of 50% and see if it automatically centers it. If it doesn't, I have a plan for that too. But it'll be fantastic if this just 50%'s me. Here we go. This rule here, inset. Okay, and then now I should be able to come back over to our IDE, and on this guy, so we have an inset of 0 right now, right? I can just set the inset Y of 1/2, which should say that I have 50% margin top, 50% margin bottom, and then we're gonna leave that height alone, like I said, just for now, so we can see what's happening there. And then let's go back to the browser and see if that worked, and not quite, right? So what happened is it makes it so that it starts at 50%, which we don't want it to start at 50%. As a matter of fact, we want it to start at about 15%. So let's go back to Tailwind and let's see what like 15% looks like. There's 25%. I just saw 25%. That was odd. Where's the little small percentages? Wait, are we saying 25 is as small as the percentage they allow? I mean, we can try 25, but I have a feeling that that's going to be... Wait, can you do top bottom auto? I don't know if that's a real thing. I don't know if top bottom auto is a real thing. So maybe you can do top auto, bottom auto, and get it to automatically center that way. All right, let's see if that worked. Nah, that didn't work. I'm just gonna do top, whatever that 25% was. So what's that? 1/4. I'm gonna do top 1/4 and see what that looks like. I mean, I don't love it. Maybe the idea is to do bottom 1/4. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Get it farther away from... I would rather it be farther away from the bottom than farther away from the top. Because you can kind of get the... You can spoof this right now. I hate using that word, but this kind of could look as though it is like a centered experience, right? Kinda. And I suppose if we were to do top 1/4, 1/4, there wouldn't be enough room for it, right? Yeah, so there's not enough room for it. So now we just have to probably make the height a little deeper, and then we would have absolute centering. But remember, I said we're gonna drop the height on this anyway, so I'm really more concerned, where does this thing start? And then we'll look at some examples of the body copy, right? The summaries for those tags to see if this makes sense. So let's drop our opacity. We do want opacity, but we don't want the opacity on the whole DOM. We actually just want the opacity on that background black. So let's see how to deal with that real quick. Let's do background color, and then let's see how we deal with the alphas. If folks are familiar with the RGBA, not sure if you asked me anything but was eating. No, I ain't actually done 48. I've been actually smooth sailing. I've been kind of smooth sailing, surprisingly. Yeah, okay, so let's see. We need background RGBA, and we want our... Oh, nice. Wait, are these transparencies though, or are these different shades? These look like shades to me. They don't look like transparencies. Let's see. I don't... Oh, man. That's going to be tough. I wonder, how do you do that? Oh, here it is. Control the opacity of an element's background color by using the color opacity modifier. Let's go! Let's go. This is so cool. They did too much, okay? All right, so we're going to say we want our background to be about 50. So it's going to be BG Black 550, okay? I don't even think we need the 500. What is black here? Yeah, it's just BG Black. And then I think we need the slash though, right? It's just gonna be BG Black /50, I think. So let's change that from BG Black to go over to the IDE, and we'll just do BG Black /50, right? I think that's gonna work. Come back to the app. Yeah, that worked. However, it does not look like. Oh wait, let's get rid of this opacity 50 now. Yes, that did work, because now look how clear the hello world is versus the black background. So I actually think we can stand to pump this up a bit more, like maybe 75. What are my options there again? Let's go back to Tailwind. Yeah, 75 was one of my options. I'm gonna bump that up to 75, guys. I have a feeling that we might be able to get away with 75 there. Yeah, that doesn't look horrible. Let's get rid of the other opacity. Okay. Nah, that might be too dark actually. Let's go back to the wireframe. I feel like that might be too dark. Yeah, that's too dark. All right, well, 50 is good for now. If 50 gets to a point where there are bright background images competing with the overlay here, we can always go back to 75. But I honestly like 50 better from a design perspective. So I'm just gonna go 50. It just looks cleaner to me. All right, so what do we need here, right? We need a title. Wow, did you see that? I'm not doing this, guys. Tab 9 is incredible. I'm not doing this. What's up, Quantix? How you doing, bro? What's up, Quantix? Let's go. We got another junkie in the building. Let's go. Let's go. We writing code. We writing code. I love this application. Okay, some title here, and then let's do lorem here. You guys can't see what's happening in my IDE, but tab 9 just did all this for me. Okay, that's what happened. I was like, basically, I was here. Let me show you guys where I was. I was here. Okay, I was like, okay, what needs to go here? I wasn't even here. I was here. I was like, what needs to go here? And then I just saw that. This is tab 9 saying, hey, do you want to maybe put an H1 tag since it's a feature card? I'm like, all right, cool. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I need a paragraph tag. And they're like, wait, I got you. They're like, I got you covered. Don't press anything. Tab 9 is so good. Okay, some title here. Now, if you are a brand new front-end developer, I would never recommend you use these kind of tools because the reason I'm able to so quickly diagnose what's not working when things aren't working on the front end is because I spent a bunch of time learning front end development, right? So some of this stuff is just like, because I've run into those issues so many times in the past, I know how to diagnose them in the present. But if you do already have strong front end chops and you want to get out of some of the tedious typing that's required for front end development, dude, tab and JavaScript, especially front end and JavaScript development. Tab 9 is godlike right now. Like, you guys see, I didn't have to write any of this junk. Okay? So good. And then obviously this is just generic lorem ipsum. I don't even think that's a part of tab 9. I think that's just something you get with the lorem ipsum generator. So I think our titles are normally bigger than this. However, I mean, not titles, but our summaries are normally longer than this. However, I don't know if I care, to be honest. I think what I want to do is add some padding around this and let the height be dictated by how long the tag summary is. So I'm going to go in and get rid of now the height that we added to that DOM. We made it a certain height by default. I'm going to get rid of that. And I think I'm going to add some padding now. Just around, not the card itself, but the floating div, right? So I want to do padding around the whole thing, and I don't know that markup. I'm going to go over to Tailwind's documentation and find out what's like a generic all sides. Oh, it's just P, I think. Yeah, just P. So I want to do padding 4, maybe. Let's do P-4. I think that's going to be 12 pixels on every side. So let's go back to the browser. Whoops, I keep going to the Be Right Back card. Yeah, see, that honestly, that doesn't look bad. right? I don't love how low it is now, but I don't hate it either. That's kind of random. I don't know why it decided to go this low, but listen, I don't hate that at all. That randomly looks kind of cool, so I'm totally fine with this. But I will say, now that I'm seeing the colors clash, I do feel like the opacity that we have at 50% is a little too low. However, I personally feel like 75 is too dark. But let's just try 75 one more time. And if it looks okay, we'll leave it. But yeah, that actually looks fine now. Now that we're seeing it in all its glory, that looks fine. So the last thing we need is the white stroke around this black box. Remember, that was a part of the design. If we look at the wireframe, there's a white stroke that goes around this black box, and then the black box is like -1 margin off the screen. So let's add that. I think there's a 2 pixel stroke around that. So let's find out from Tailwind how they deal with border. So border width and border color, I think. Yeah, border width and border color. So it's going to be border width of 2 pixels. So border 2, and then border color. It's going to be what? Border 2 and border black. So border 2 and border black. So let's do that. Let's go back to the IDE. It's going to be border 2 and border black. Oh, and another thing, right? I made that comment earlier about tab 9 being not something that would be a good idea for new developers, new front-end developers. The same thing can be said about using a tool like ShadCN. Like, there are a lot of different HTML rules, and I mean CSS rules, and I mean a lot of CSS rules. And imagine not knowing how to add a border, but having all of this documentation here at your fingertips. Like, you would spend more time perusing through this documentation and looking at these examples, trying to figure out, is this what I want? Like, is this actually what I want? If you didn't already like know these CSS rules, the names of them, like Z indexing or flexboxing grid or floating, this concept of overflow hidden. Like, some of these things, I really encourage you guys, if you're just starting out with either front-end development or JavaScript development, try not to use so many of the tools that you see me. I'm a super seasoned, like, I'm like the fried chicken at the cookout version of developer. Okay, I'm really well seasoned. I've been doing this for like 20 years now. No joke. Okay, but if I wasn't, I would start in a very different place than what you see me doing on the stream these days. Right? I want to get to the end result quickly, and because I know how to get there the long way. It's in my best interest to use these shortcuts. But if you're just trying to become a strong developer, you aren't going to want to take shortcuts ever. You're actually going to want to get stuck as often as possible, because you don't just learn how to fix the thing you got stuck on by getting stuck. You learn all kinds of other things along the way, trying to figure out how to get unstuck. That's one of the beauties about development. That's one of the beauties about being a developer that's in the process of growing. Even I'm still growing, right? You won't see me using any hand-me-outs for React components, for example. Well, that's a lie. I'm going to use React components. How about this? The Sanity stuff that we're building, I'm not going to use any handouts for that. Right? That create data method that we did to stand up that migrated content. I probably could have just downloaded something to do that, but no, since I'm aiming for growth, I'm going to do that stuff from scratch, right? I could have used that not fake, but the starter template for our next application. We could have been using movie data and people data from the database that Sanity gives you, but no, we want to do everything from scratch, and I implore you guys to do the same. Okay, all right, soapbox over. Let's get back to it. Okay, so we said this looks good. We were in the middle of doing something though. We were gonna add one more thing. Oh, the white border. The white border. Okay, so did we get it? Oh, we didn't save. We were interested in seeing what that looked like, and then we wanted to talk about. Oh, it's border white, not black. I think I can do that from here though. Yep, there we go. And that looks fine, right? I can't even tell that the left rail is too far, but I am going to fix that, though. I'm going to do negative margin left, and I wonder if I could pass a specific Like, I want to put my own pixel amount here. Like, I want to do -1, to be honest. Oh, never mind. PX. PX. Perfect. This is like a really common CSS trick to move things off screen. So margin left -PX. Did it do it? It doesn't look like it did it. Wait, what? So maybe this is another one that needs to compute the long way. So here, this is going to be border white. Let's go to the IDE. So this was going to be border white. And then, do I have any margin rules? I don't think I have any margin rules here, right? So I should be able to do negative margin left PX, which is 1 pixel. If I go back to the browser, okay, there we go. It did it. All right, yeah, I just had to refresh. So now it's off screen, but we can see our white border. That looks great. Now for the, I'm not gonna say the hard part, but let's make this, no, let's not make it dynamic yet. No. We are not gonna jump ahead. So we are officially done with our title card, right? This is basically the first thing you see when you come to a section. And I personally feel like this image is too big. I'm not gonna change it. I am going to open a pocket in our tags. Tags are now gonna have 2 fields, right? Tags are gonna have, no, they only need 1 field. The only place you see a tag's image is this template. So what we're gonna do in our faker code is we're gonna make sure that tags always get the 1400 by 600 image. There's never a time where a tag wouldn't get that featured presentation. So we're gonna start passing it the larger image so that it can solve for this section. So we'll take care of that when we get there. The next thing we have to stand up is our wall. And this will be the last thing we do tonight, guys. We have 30 more minutes before we call it a night. And all we have to do is create one of these and paste it on the page multiple times. And then boom, Bob's your uncle, right? So let's actually do that real quick. So what is this? This is a divider, right? This is a divider with a bunch of dividers inside it. Okay, so we're gonna add a divider around this just to separate it from this guy. We really don't need to be honest, but I'm going to. And it doesn't need to be relative, okay? It doesn't need to be relative. There's no reason to do positioning in there, so it's not gonna be relative. So here, let's start coding this out. So the first thing we have here is we have each individual story bank, right? So, well, each individual story in the bank. So each story, so this is not a story container. This is the entire bank's container. So inside of that, let's do story 1, right? So let's say story 1. Okay, and then story 1 has a container. So I can actually do container here. I think that is a legitimate class name for Tailwind. So I'm gonna do container here, and now what do we have, right? We have an image. We have an image, right? Let's actually, where's our image here? Let's steal that. This time we don't need to do the absolute stuff or anything like that, right? Our image is gonna be, so hang on, let's think about this, right? We actually have a grid kind of setup right now, right? So if we go back to the browser, yeah, let's actually think about this, because we can get away with using grid for the outer container, and that should cover us for the inner elements, right? So if we go over to Tailwind grid and we want template rows, and well, do we want rows? We don't really want rows. Let's just do grid. Yeah, row start in, here we go. Okay, so we want something like this, right? We don't need the call span. We don't need that. That either. Go back to grid. There we go, grid display. This is maybe what we want. I need the size of the grid to grow, right? So we need one. Are these? Oh, these aren't rows. These are columns. These aren't rows. These are columns. These are columns, right? Let's see. So we need 2 columns, but we want our second column to take up more space than the right column, right? Oh man, I know that's something you can do in grid. I just suck at it. So this is column width. So this is kind of what we want, right? We want, yeah, this is it. This is it. We want column start to be a certain amount of spaces. So, okay, I think what we do is the whole thing is 2 columns, right? And I think the column start. Oh my god. All right, 48. I might need your grid assistance on this. Because what I'm trying to do, right, is I want to make it so that. So here, let's go back to the template, right? I know you can do this in grid. Like basically, I want to do a grid here where I have this image, right? And then basically, I just want everything to the right to stretch like that, you know? So I know that this is probably like a 25-75 split. But I don't know what the grid rule is for that. Let me just look it up. I'll say 2 column grid, 25-75. Let's make CSS grid with uneven column width. Yeah, here we go. So this will tell us what the 1 FR and then 3 FR. And then the container itself is. Oh, and this is like a mobile thing here, yeah. So 1 FR, 3 FR. Let's see how they denote that here. So I'm just gonna go back to grid. And then grid template columns. And then 1 FR, 3 FR. How do they deal with that? Maybe it's the start end. Dude, I thought this would be so much easier. Column start, column end. Where is 1 FR, 2 FR? What? All right, let's at least find out where they're doing their FRs. Yeah, it's not good. So it's like auto rows here, but that's not what we want. So we have grid columns 4 total. And maybe I deal with it in call spans because I think there's 12 columns total. Or maybe it's up to us how many columns we have in a grid, right? So if I say a grid is 4 columns, I could say that the first div is a call span of 1 and the other is a call span of 3. So let's try that real quick. So if we say the container is a grid and then grid calls grid and then grid calls 4 total, I should be able to say for this image, right, where we'll do let's say this is like a perfect square, right? No, this will be kind of the same size as our story card. No, that's too big. Let's actually see what we made our story wall image size, and then we'll go from there, right? So 635 by 365, 635. Oh man, that is very confusing. Let me just copy this. 635, 365. I would have been typing that wrong all day. Let's use an aspect ratio calculator to figure out like how to make a smaller variant of that, but still keep the same aspect ratio intact. So I'll come here. That's gonna be 635 by 365, and then let's say for our width we don't need it to be 635. Let's say we're okay with it being like 200 pixels smaller. 400 by 230 is what we land with. So let's do that. Let's do 400 by 230. 400 by 230 is what we have there, and that should be fine. So the width is going to be 400 again. However, I don't even care about that right now. For now, let's just do backticks slash mock, and let's make sure we get the 655. Yeah, mock slash square, mock dash square, and then slash one.png. See what that looks like in the browser. Like absolutely nothing. Oh wait, we're in a story wall. All right, but I guess while we have it. All right, let's close that because I don't want to keep breaking things accidentally. We don't need this class name. We do though. We need call span here. So for the image, the call span would be 1. And then we have another div in here, right? So let's actually make some alt text. I think I'm showing the website. All right. Some alt text. And then here we'll have a div. Yep, that's the other content. And then this is going to be a class name of call span 3. And then we'll say background a BG black because we want to see the color text white. And let's just see how we have the separation here, if it worked. Browser, kinda, right? It's just putting the columns in the wrong place now. So we have the main header and then this other piece, but looks like something else is off here. Why is that in a grid? Let's see, I don't know why that's in a grid. Like, why is that together? So actually, this outermost container can be flex. And then justify content. I mean, yeah, how do you, I think it's justify content row or something like that. I'm gonna look for these flex rows. Flex direction. Yeah, so it's flex row. So if I go back to the IDE, I should be able to say that our outermost container, right, is flex and then flex row. And then now this first container here, the one that actually, oh no, this is actually flex column. And then this guy starts our grid, right? So if I undo this, copy the, I can redo that, flex column, and paste that back. And then I think this might do, no, it's not. It's something with the container. The outermost container is not. But that's right, though. This is what we see there for the Diablo image and then the Hello World. That's exactly what we want. But we want that to be our stacked experience, right? So what's happening here is we are missing a div. We are missing a container div somewhere. So with full isn't doing anything for us. Either is relative? Yeah, relative has to be working. Yeah, I was gonna say, that's definitely not the way to go. I feel like there's a DOM error here, right? I feel like that. Okay, so let's think about this, right? So basically, we want this guy here to stretch across the entire page. Okay, in order to do that, I thought he just needed to be 100% width. But now, for some reason, these guys are sharing the stage. Why are they sharing the stage? This is a tricky one. It shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be. This is so strange to me. Like, the moment I get rid of this div, everything works. Is there a way I can take that out of the equation? Hang on, let me see something. I think maybe these are two. Oh, that's what it is. These are two different sections of my page. But stands to reason they should be in their own dedicated section divs, right? Like, these are two totally separate sections of a template. If that works. Hang on, let's go back to the IDE, see what we're cooking up here. So we do have an error. Houston, we have a problem. Something with this guy here, right? It's not working there. So have our div here. Yep, that's surrounding a single section, so that's fine. So is that. But now that these are two sections in the same place, I think I need to surround them by one wrapping container. If I'm right about this, then I can't wait to tell Matt that I'm next level. I'm next level. No, that was a really light problem. That was pretty small. But let's go back to the browser and see if that worked. And it did, right? I can already see it from this side. That actually did what we wanted to do. But now this is not wide enough, okay? This isn't wide enough for our taste. And that's because there's some padding somewhere. There's some padding. I'm going to do padding 0 here. I think I can do P0. No, I can't do P0 there. So maybe get rid of the container? Yeah, because now we have a container already. We don't need a container. Okay, so we're that much closer to finishing this. We're doing this tonight, okay? We got 20 more minutes until 10 p.m., but I don't care. I am going to finish this wall, right? Because we are really close. This is going to be a very easy ticket to knock out tonight, and we are going to go ahead and knock this out. So let's come here. I think we do need some padding in this space. So I'm going to say P8 here. In our hello world div, but that doesn't look like it's doing anything for us there, does it? So we're not gonna put the padding there. Let's do padding 4. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now anything inside of there is gonna be contained in a 4-pixel padding arrangement. So we're gonna get rid of container here. We don't need the container where we already have a container denoted by our Storybank's main container. And remember, each of these are going to be individual rows. So we'll do some bottom margin there as well. I think we can get rid of the width full here. I don't know if we need that. Let's see what happens if we kill it. There's no absolute positioning or anything like that where the width would be relevant in any way, right? So that looks good. Go back to the IDE. Let's see, where did we add that P4? Which we haven't added that P4, so it makes me think that we didn't refresh the page. Yep, we did it. Okay, so but the width being gone still doesn't have any negative effects. So we'll go back to the IDE. We'll add our P4 here. And then now we can start saying what metadata goes inside of this container, right? So we have we have the topics, right? Which are gonna be like spans. So span topic here. And we'll say the class for this is that I want text red 500, font bold, okay, right, because this is going to be our URL, and we know that we don't need to do the URL immediately. We can see what the URL is going to look like by just using the dummy text, and then after that we have a title. So these are going to be H2s, right? So let me see what they give us here. So H2s are probably just going to need to be XL. And I do like font bold and MB2. So let's actually just make that an H2 though. So H2. And then we have some title here. And then under the H2, we have the P tag. So let's just put some lorem here. And this time I'm going to do 2 lorem stacks. Okay, now we have more of a realistic paragraph there. And then finally we have our byline container, which we know from before we need to actually link this, divide this out, because there's multiple things that go inside it. So we'll have our image, which is going to be the image of our person. So we'll steal whatever we did for the story wall here to get that circle image effect. So that was yep, here we go. These 2 divs, and then followed by an image. So I'm actually going to steal that exactly, because we don't want to change that. That part is going to be identical to what we did before. So I am going to say, yep, and then another one here. Yep, and then now we should be completely in. I'll just change our source to be one of our square people. So slash mock slash dash square slash 2.png, doesn't matter which one. Alt text is going to be some alt text here, and that's our image. And then now if we go back to the story wall, we can see this is where we added our byline. So this is how we did it. We'll just do it the same way. Under the div that closes that off, we added the byline there. Okay, we are going to change this to combo. We'll deal with the dynamic nature of it in the next ticket. For now, let's just do combo, chunky, and then here for this span, let's go grab button variants here. Okay, there we go. And that all looks good. Let's see what that looks like on the front. All right, that's not looking bad at all. The black background is going to go away. This text is all going to be black. I feel like that is done. I know that sounds crazy, but I actually feel like that is good. I'm going to do P6 here, see if there's a P6 measurement. Yeah, I'm going to do P6 for all the font and stuff. Yeah, I'm going to do P6 for all the font and stuff, but I feel like the design is done. So let's move on to the... let's move out of the design stuff that we're doing. So this is going to be P6. And we're going to say the background color and all that is just the same. This is all story 1, right? All of this is just one story element. And we're going to be creating a bunch of these. So grid column 4, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4 from left to right. Now if we go open the browser, that looks okay. I'm gonna make the image a little bigger though. So 400 is not bad, but what if it was actually like 500 instead of 400? Let's go to our aspect ratio calculator again. See what that looks like. 100 pixels bigger. So 500, 287, what we would need to adjust for. So let's go to the IDE, 500 and 287. All right, go back to the IDE. Let me go back to the browser. Let's see. Did the image get bigger? It doesn't look like the image got any bigger. So I think that has to do with the column spacing that we're doing. So I'm going to go back to the IDE and I'm going to tinker with this just a little bit, right? I'm going to say that we actually have 5 columns and 2 of the columns are the image. So call span 2 for the image and then call span 3 for the text. Let's see what that looks like. That looks better, but that image is way too deep now, right? That image is extremely deep. So maybe more like 430 for the width, so 430, and then that takes us down to 247 height. That doesn't seem bad. 247 height, right? So 247 height. Let's go ahead and save that and see where that lands us on the browser. Okay, so now I think there's just a lot, right? Here's the columns breakdown, right? There's a lot of white space to the left. And I don't want to say 1 and 4, but 1 and 3 was kind of big too. What if we did a 7-column grid and did 3 and 4? What if we did a 7-column grid and did 3 and 4? So we'll go 7 columns total, go 4 here, and we'll go 3 here. Okay, so if I go back to the browser, so that's our 7-column grid. Yeah, it actually looks like we can get away with doing 2. Yeah, let's go back to 2/5. I think that's gonna have to do it. So if we go back to saying 5 and then 2 and 3, that was kind of, yeah, that I'm gonna go back to a 4-column grid and 1 and 3. Yeah, that's gonna have to do it. I'm not in love with that, but these are stories. Stories have really deep summaries, so maybe that will be fine. I'm gonna assume that this is what we'll go with. So I want topic to start at the very top here, so I'm actually gonna get rid of the top padding by doing a PT 0 on that. So right now we say give everything padding of 6, but I'm gonna say PT 0. So that the padding should only focus on the top there. I'm also going to make the H1 a little more prominent. Right now we're doing large, extra large. I'm gonna do 1XL. Oh, I'm gonna do 2XL. There we go. 2XL is a little more prominent for that. So that looks better. And I think this closes out our creation. I'm gonna add one more big old lorem ipsum chunk here to more closely represent our in-depth summaries. So you guys should just see that happen automatically. And let's do one more. All right, that looks way better. And let's see now, I'm gonna say the whole thing has a margin bottom, right? Each one has a margin bottom of whatever 8 is. Margin bottom 8. So let's see what that actually looks like on that div. Margin bottom 8 looks like not enough room. But let's stack some of these up. Let's stack like 4 or 5 of these on top of one another and see what we get back. So I'm just gonna go to my IDE here and thank God for tools like VS Code. I'm gonna collapse this div, right? And I am going to highlight that and I'm just gonna copy it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Save, go back to the browser and see how the separation looks. Okay, so that's obviously wrong. And that's because this is flex column. This needs to be flex row. Hang on. I think I grabbed not enough content there. Let's go back to the IDE. 1, 4. This is our one item. Okay, yeah, that's what we. This is our story bank, which means our actual story 1 starts here at this outer container. We'll have a bunch of these stacked. So I'm gonna say that the margin bottom, that's one story, and then the second story, it would make sense that second story to be here, third story, fourth story. Now save that, go back to the browser and see how we did. No, we still have them stacking like. Oh yeah, that's because they're flex. I really think this needs to be flex grid. I mean flex row. That's so odd that that's not stacking one on top of the other. Oh, that's so weird. Okay. All right, hang on. Go back. Let's go back. Oh yeah, that actually looks fine. We do have something else. Background, which is what? Background. Okay, so the black background's gone. Now, why is this not working? So I don't know if we need that flex column, to be honest. No. We did need the grid. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the, I'm going to do an MX auto here, see what happens. All right, nothing. So let's see if I, that once, now it's split it again. What is it? So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to get rid of that container on the outside. And then I'm going to add container to each one. Yeah, that might do. Okay, so let's see if that works. So what I just did was I got rid of the container on this section. Which this doesn't make sense. If this does work, I don't want this to be the final solution actually. Because whatever we're experiencing right now, it's because of how we've written these inner divs. Like some are grid and some, like it's basically a grid with flex boxes inside it, which should be fine, but there's something else off about this. So what I'm going to do right now is just do a container here and get rid of the container here. First, I'm going to see if that broke anything like on the onset, which it didn't. That looks exactly like what we want. And then now back in the IDE land, I should be able to come here and clone these stories now. So I'll just add 3 and go back to the page. And damn it, it's still doing it. Is that something to do with the flex rule here? I don't know if we need this flex rule. Item center, justify center. I don't think we need any of that. Yeah, there we go. We just didn't need any of that flex stuff up there. So I'm gonna undo the 2 that I just wrote. I'm gonna get rid of that container rule I just added. We'll get rid of this MX auto as well. I think the only thing we need is our bottom margin. And then I'm gonna get rid of all of these flex rules. And now if we head back to the browser, we can see that our row still looks the same, but if we add an additional story now, let's go back to the IDE. If we add a additional story here, let's add 1, 2, 3 of these. Now head back to the browser, we can see that this is what we want. This is what we want this to look like. I'm actually gonna double that space underneath. You guys didn't see the browser just now, but before I show you the browser, let me just double that margin bottom. Actually, let's go back to the browser and see what the margin bottom needs to be. Let's only focus on these two for now. All right, so we have a margin bottom rule of 8, and I'm saying we want more like 12. 12's not a thing. 10. 10's not a thing. 15. 16. Dude, these margin bottom rules suck. No, they don't. They're pretty awesome. I just don't know them by heart. So let's try for 12 and see if we refresh the page, does it actually give us a bottom margin there? It doesn't. Okay, it does. It does. Okay. So we'll do 12, and then I told you sometimes it has to be compiled or else you don't get it. So now I'll show you guys what the end result looks like. So we just added 3 of those. Let's go back to the browser. And there we go. Now our page is complete. We have our eyebrow. We have our title, which we're going to make even bigger. We're going to do a 3XL title there. I think it needs to be 3X. I'm going back to the IDE now to take care of that. I'll expand this. Let's go to our H2. We're going to say this needs to be 2XL, let's say. Let's see what that looks like in the browser. 2XL still looks too small in my mind, so I'm going to go 3XL. Yep, 3XL looks about right. We're going to add some space below the little eyebrow. We're going to add a little space below it. So we're going to do like a margin bottom. Back to the IDE. We're going to do like a margin bottom here of 2. Back in the browser, how does that look? Yeah, that's more room. And then we're going to give it the same font size we gave that other one on the story wall. So let's go back to our eyebrow, and we gave it a text large. Okay, so let's give it that. So text large. All right, so now that should look better. Yep, that looks great. So if we go back to the browser, that looks perfect. Looks like there's enough breathing room there to be able to click this. We're going to link this, this, and this when we get around to that part of it. We're not there yet. Right now, we are just delivering a story bank experience for this for the client, right? So 1, 2, 3. We'll save that. We'll go back to the browser. And now this is our completed experience, right? I do want to lift this up a little bit. This title card here needs to go up because it's taking away from the items in the story wall, in my opinion. So I'm gonna just move this up, and I think the way to do that is going to be to change the top percentage that we added to it. What did we do? We said and we dropped the top percentage. So we're gonna say start at the top instead of the bottom. Yeah, okay, that's what we'll do. We'll just do a top rule instead of the bottom rule that we're doing right now. There's a bottom rule on there, so that would be the very top of this page. Here it is, and we'll change that to top, and then now we'll move these into components, right? These shouldn't be raw HTML tags since they are now complete. They are ready to live in their own components, right? So this first one would be what we call a featured card. This is going to be our featured card. And then the second component that we'll create is going to be our story bank, right? So let's go ahead and create this component first. This is our featured card.tsx. Say export default function. What is it? Export default function anonymous. We don't need to pass anything yet. And then I think it's returned. Export. I can never remember the syntax by heart. Just default. All right, there we go. So there's that, and then now let's move out this HTML and put it in that featured card. So we'll go featured card here. I don't think we need those because we have a opening section tag and a opening. Right, so then we need to import image. That's okay. And now we can actually import featured card from featured card, right? Easy peasy squeezy. Oh, not in header though. We don't want it in header. How did I get header open? What? I don't know what I've done in header, but we'll see if I change anything. So it's actually going to be in page. We're going to say underneath image, actually in place of image. So we'll eventually get rid of image altogether, but let's just import featured card from, and we don't need to do that, right? We can just say from this directory. Oh no, page is in its own spot, right? So we do need to say go into that components directory for the featured card. And now what we can do, right? We're not passing any data yet, but we can actually just do this now. So now that same HTML lives in this page, right? So we don't have to carry that around with us, which is really heavy anyway. And now let's do the same thing for our, whoops. Let's do the same thing for our, what's it called? The story bank. Let's do that too. This is spaced oddly. So let me pull this back and then we pull all of you out, right? That's what needs to happen. There we go. Okay, what time is it? All right, 10:05. We're making really good time here. All we're gonna do is the static ticket, right? And then we're done pushing this code up and or looking off. So let's do our story bank.tsx. X, and then here we'll say export default anonymous function, return anonymous function. There we go. All right, so as long as we don't have any errors, we know we're good there. Let's go ahead and grab our story bank. We know we want all that HTML goodness. That's going to replace everything in between that little area, right? So I keep thinking this is like PHP, and it's not. You can actually paste it directly where it needs to go, and it'll keep its formatting, which is really helpful. Right, and then import that image, and I think we are done with that. We know we need the button variants as well, so we can get rid of this. And let's go grab button variants, and we'll import the other things as we need them to the dynamic style of this, but right now we're not there, so we can get rid of both of these now. We can say imports story bank from component story bank, and then now I don't need these comments, right? Comments are inside of the actual files, right? So I can do this. I have to wrap them in something, but boom. So now we should have the exact same end result that we had before, only now we have these, right? We have these to work, which is really helpful. So one of the things we're gonna do when we make this dynamic is we're gonna use these params to run our queries, right? We're gonna import some queries that we're gonna run, and they're gonna require these slug variables. We're gonna work on that next time. But for now, I think this looks good. Let's go to the browser and make sure the page is what the client would be expecting. So we have some title here. That looks really good. This page looks great. It looks like it's ready to be infinitely scrolled and built out. Let's go ahead and get our code merged into the main branch. I think that is a perfect stopping point. We'll get back to this next time. We didn't have a chance to do the query tonight, but that's okay. We only have 2 more tickets in our backlog because this is officially completing the section front for us. So we won't be able to get to the infinite scroll today. Unfortunately, we'll get to that next time. So let's look at the changes we've made. In here, we've created a new section landing page, created new tag landing page or tag section front. Created, added static. Actually, this was created static version of section. We added featured card and story bank. Okay. What else did we do? That was it, right? That's really all we did. Go ahead and stage all of this. Look in here, make sure we didn't do anything else that I forgot. Nope, we didn't. So stage all of that. And then we'll go ahead and shut down our application for now. Close out this guy. And we will commence pushing this code. I'll do a git commit -m trndjnkee. Actually, I forgot what branch for. Branch here. And then we're going to do trend junkie 19. Git branch. Git commit -m trndjnkee 19 adds static section. Okay, that's the purpose of this ticket. Push there. Make sure that goes up to the code base successfully, which it did. We can head over to the browser now. And looking really good. I'm really happy with the progress we've made so far. This is great. Let's head over to our GitHub repository and where are we? Here we go. So now this came in automatically. Trend Junkie 19 pushed 23 seconds ago. Yep, that's us. We're gonna make sure that the changes that it denotes are the ones that we made just recently. Right, so this looks right. This looks right. These are all just static features right now. There's nothing being passed as props. These all look good. These all look really good. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in our notes that we took here. This is what we did. Come back here, paste them in, and I will give them all full stops. Because I am a stickler for grammar. This is going to say A, yeah. Alright, they're being grammar police right now. Okay, let's go ahead and make these bold because the highlight of the ticket. Alright, and then we'll put this in a list form. I thought it was ads, but I guess it's just ad. Alright, that looks good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and create the PR. Nice stuff. Yeah. Oh man, Deep LFO still on. Yo, that's awesome that you're still on. Wednesday. We'll be back Wednesday to finish this up, make it dynamic. Go ahead and merge this up. Pull request successfully merged and closed. Now we can head back over to Jira. And remember, guys, we do this because if you're gonna work a dev job, this is 9 times out of 10 how most organizations manage and maintain code base and work in a large organization. So get really used to tools, and they're free. They're all completely free. Okay, so you're definitely gonna want to play around with them. Okay, so this looks good. Static tags design is done. Where's my branch? Did I delete it already? I think I deleted it already. No, it's fine. I did delete it already, but I just needed to refresh. I'm gonna go ahead and mark this as done. Left to do there. So to Wednesday, and we're gonna breeze through this, guys. Look how fast we did the homepage, right? When it comes to doing the queries for these pages, I think we're gonna breeze through this. Depending on how fast we get through this ticket. Remember, Wednesday is sprint close, right? February 7th. So depending on how fast we get through this ticket, I say instead of jumping right into this ticket, we spend time figuring out how to implement a infinite scroll strategy. So we'll generate something like 100 pieces of content at the start of the call. We'll generate 100 pieces of content, and what we'll do is we'll make sure that there's some path forward to kind of paginating that as you scroll. So we'll use some native React. We'll probably use some state, use state. I think it's use state. Yeah, we'll use a little use state on Scroll event. We'll see if we can find something from the interwebs. We'll figure something out. We're gonna have a lot of fun on Wednesday though. But thank you all for joining. I hope everyone had a great time. I know I did. This is always a good time. If you guys have any specific questions, make sure you reach out. If you like this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop some heart emojis in the chat. And y'all have a great rest of the night. Peace out from the Junkyard, my guys and gals. Y'all have a good one.